Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Trader TV Live. Futures in positive territory. The NQ about 4/5 in the green. The ES about half a point. The Dow about a quarter. And the Russ about 2/3 of a point here as we expect. The Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the core PCE. Adair, what do we got?
Yeah, it looks pretty flat here across the board. The only one that looks higher than expected here, PCE price index month over month, slightly above expectations, 0.2% here versus the consensus of 0.2% in line with expectations, but above the previous month. Personal spending, we also got here that in line with expectations. Personal income month over month, slightly above estimates, 0.3% versus consensus here of 0.2%. Core PCE, though, that is exactly in line with expectations, 0.2% versus consensus here of 0.2%. Price PCE in the year-over-year basis here slightly below estimates, 2.5% versus 2.6% expected. Core PCE year-over-year also below estimates, 2.6% versus 2.7% expected. So both of the year-over-year numbers actually below estimates, the month-over-month in line.
All right, guys, the market taking this in stride, really not moving. We're still up about 0.4% here on the futures. Lots to talk about today. Dell reported overnight, beating expectations. We'll talk about that. They're up about 5%. Intel as well, very aggressive move today. 5 3/4 in the green. They're looking possibly here at splitting their business, including their foundry, their recently acquired foundry business, saying that there may be customers for that business as well. We'll talk about Tesla, Alibaba also on watch as it's almost up 5% in the pre-market, and Zeekr and Lululemon also with headlines. Good morning, guys.
Yes, good morning, everybody. It's such a good morning that Intel's up. No,
a little bit better to check the accounts now than it was maybe yesterday at this time.
Not that much better.
Actually, this time was okay, actually.
Yeah, this time was
more at the close.
Yeah, the close was the problem yesterday. Most of the day was looking just fine until the back half, maybe the last 2.5 hours of the day. But like the Nasdaq's almost a point. Like we're getting into some big resistance. The ES is trying to push those all-time highs again. It's been a great round out to the week. I mean, if you look at something like Lululemon, bad report. I mean, there was, I guess they beat on the top, they beat on EPS, I guess. Revenue was bad, guide was bad. There wasn't a heck of a lot that was fantastic about it. It was down big, and now it's up. So that's even getting bought up. I think that's pretty solid. I don't mind the fact that the only thing that would have been bad for PCE is if it came in really hot. I feel like it doesn't matter. It was as expectations on the month over month, and slightly lower is a good thing because that just means it should be all systems go. We're already
your mic
doing.
Is,
my mic screwed up
here. Oh. Hamster, is that true? Breaking, the number of 401k millionaires has hit an all-time high. I mean, I guess that makes kind of sense. Congratulations to all the 401k millionaires out there. And I think that makes sense due to the markets and the broadening out of the market being at all-time highs. And a lot of that might have to do with, we see where rates are and just, you have different options and different ways of investing. And if you're a gold trader right now, you're at all-time highs. If you're an equity trader, you're points away. I mean, you've come down a little bit over the next little while. But if you're diversified, that does make a little bit of sense there. We have Bitcoin right now, not too much diversification in 401k for Bitcoin, I don't believe. 59.6 right now, trying to go. The Chinese ADRs are going today as well. So we've got some good movement in that space there. We've still haven't bought any dips. We're still long in Alibaba. But there it is, man. FXI right now trying to break out. You're going to get a lot of these names. There's the XBI, which has nothing to do with this, but that's another ETF that I like as well. But right here, trying to break through this 27. Let's see if we can get that out of here and then get a little bit higher. It's, K-Web is the other Chinese internet ETF here that can go on news like this. Both of them up 1 and 2.5% respectively, trying to get going as well. This name's more battered than the FXI due to PDD, Pin Duo. Just to check on Nvidia again, a name that was a top one yesterday. We'll see if it can get there today. Bouncing in and around that 120 has been a spot. So that broke, and we saw that cascade to the downside there. And that really created that kind of panic that we were talking about. And we had lost. Remember, we tried to buy, I think, some 117s or 118s yesterday, and then we got completely out of the way, and we were like, oh, that saved us. But then what was not saved was that Nvidia bottom there of 115. That wasn't even tested. So that bottom yesterday was 116.50 off earnings. We wicked into 115. I don't think we have to worry about that. But those are some bottom levels to look at. I didn't wrote down anything this low on Nvidia. I didn't think we would get here. Up 1%. And, but look at this. It can fall just pretty easily. Like, right, that's just $1. Like, it was just 19.50 there, and now you're down to 18.60, looking to break sort of these pre-market lows right now. So the market apparently not liking a lower than expected PCE of 2.5 versus 2.6, prior 2.5 as well. So I don't know, kind of seems like it's a relatively flattish day to open, but making its move back in. ES also up 0.35 and coming back. So yeah, you know what I was thinking we could do? In the morning, we'll talk to Brendan about this when he gets back, but just like an overall rundown of all of the indexes, you know, like what is gold doing? What is oil doing? What has Japan done? You know, what is Europe doing? You know, everything's like that. Because then you can get like maybe a better overall view of, you know, the global economy before you step in.
I feel like we always miss one or two things. Like we'll go over Bitcoin.
I hope you have to hold
usually
that mic all day, then you have to trade one-handed.
There's absolutely no way.
You have a coffee and one.
No,
that's
like, ridiculous.
That's where we got to have like the verbal. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think we have extra mics anyways.
We have mics all over the place. It should not be that difficult.
Sometimes.
I have complete faith in Refrain that she's going to get my mic fixed. And quite frankly, it's
it looks like it's Fabian doing all the work
reliable.
Here,
No. It's all.
Refrain gets a lot of credit, but I mean, it's clearly the one working here is Fabian.
No matter what Fabian does, it's all Refrain because Refrain gives me treats.
She's just hanging out over there.
Anytime she has candy, I get. If she has chocolate bars, then I get some of that. So thank you very much, Refrain.
I get candy too.
Although Fabian is the one fixing it right now, but Sean, I think it's a great point because. You know, like how many times have we forgotten about a move in oil, and then we'll look back and it's like, oh my goodness, look at XOM today, and we weren't really paying too much attention to it. Whether we trade it or not, it's all about what we can do for you guys. I'm gonna go put the real mic back on because doing this while holding it's kind of weird.
All right, a lot of Elon Musk-related headlines to get to today, so let's just get right to it. So the first one here is that a judge has dismissed his insider trading or the insider trading lawsuit levied against him for apparently, you know, manipulating Dogecoin. Basically, what the look here was that they claimed his tweets, his Saturday Night Live appearances, and Tesla's acceptance of Dogecoin as payment significantly led to price volatility and losses. So that got dismissed. There was also a Brazil headline over here where X is possibly going to get banned in Brazil. A judge at first instance there allowing that suit to go through. And there's also more, Adair. Tell us more.
There's so much more. There was also a couple recalls coming in here in China, only about 770 vehicles, which in the grand scheme of Tesla, not super significant. But the most Tesla-specific story here is most likely going to be the lawsuit. This was initially filed in June 2022 for $258 billion, alleging a pump and dump scheme. But the judge siding with Elon Musk and Tesla, saying that his tweets were, quote, aspirational and puffery, and they weren't actually active fraud-related engagements. So very interesting stuff here with regards to that case. They also dismissed it with prejudice, so it could not be retried.
I love the choice of words there by the judge. Also, there was the case by X against the Association of Advertisers for ghosting advertising on X that was being levied by Elon Musk, alleging that they were conspiring to not advertise on his social media platform. So that suit allowed to go through, guys.
Yeah, I feel like... Okay, with the market slightly coming back in here, I mean, I don't know. I guess we're just going to give back most of what we had over that last little run. Just before we get into Tesla, like, you know, it's not that much movement. When you're looking at this NASDAQ, it's been lower highs throughout. And when you look at the ES, we basically can't take 56, 66, or maybe 67 up top. So you are getting a little bit of selling, but in context, it's not a lot. I don't know how much those stories are going to matter in here. For Tesla, I feel like when we came in yesterday, was looking at, or the last 2 days, it was that 210 half, 211 zone where you broke out and looked like it was going to be an all-world Tesla day screaming into 220. But that never happened. You couldn't get past 215. So I don't wonder if we're not just looking right back at the same level, like that 211 area isn't that same line in the sand. Like if we're not going to chew through this again, we accelerated when 211 got lost. We accelerated when 211 got broke into the upside. So what's different here? If we're not breaking 211 on Tesla, I mean, there's stronger stocks out there. The good news for Tesla, regardless of what happens today, would be we're poised to close holding the 200 period moving average on the daily, that 203 zone. So if the worst happens, if we go from green to red, then Tesla's got that 203. Now, I mean, the market's not really doing much. It's just a slight pullback. But if there is some kind of a big sell-off, that 203 and the 200-period moving average would be a nice little Alamo for Tesla. But I can't be bullish unless we're back through that 211. That needs to break again on Tesla. Otherwise, wait for dips, I suppose.
I basically have pretty much the exact same idea that was a great moneymaker yesterday, and it's this trade right here. It's Tesla going long at 210 again. So 210.50 break. That's what we hit yesterday. I don't know if I probably have the trade here somewhere for you. There it is right there. So here's the break right there. We were on a wrong stock. We punched. Remember, we were in 5 longs. So we got out of a piece of it. Then it just absolutely ripped up, and our best out was 214. And I want to use 214 as, and this just happened early. This was 9:30, almost right off the bat. So I'm kind of feeling the same way again about Tesla. I was just looking at Nvidia, trying to make some levels here. But yeah, so right now, Tesla, I still like that play. It's only $1 away. And if the market wants to go, Tesla is going to go. It's already up double the market. So you want to talk about relative strength? We had that question yesterday. Yeah, hell yeah. Relatively strong today, up 1.5%. Let's go. I like the level. There's the break yesterday. There's the hold of 210.50 before pretty choppy. Hold again, upside. And then when everything broke at the end of the day, it didn't matter what level you're looking at. So I really like that. And it was from here. 2 days ago, Wednesday afternoon, is where we had 210.50. So that's going to be just an area of support, not support, now resistance, that I would really like to look at. So 210.50 on that break. I mean, that's going to be a play for me. And again, a very, very strong name. And this is, I know we're going to go back over to Shreve because he's talking about Intel here, and we're going to get to it. But the thing is, this is what I pray for Google and all these idiots that are trying to break these companies up. It's like now Intel, out of dire need of something to give to shareholders here, are now just pulling at straws and saying like, oh, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. Let's hire Morgan Stanley. It's a great way to bring the stock up 6%. And I think it might, I don't know, it seems like it's working, right? Stocks are only worth what everyone's willing to pay for them. So it's probably not going to change anything for the business, but it's something interesting and it's a catalyst. So again, like up 6%, I actually think Intel has a lot more room to run up, but that story is for another day. I thought it was actually going a little bit more than this because Sharif was over there, but up 6% right now for Intel. I don't think we expected that, but hey, you know, maybe this is the rebound play that we're all looking for.
Big maybe. I'd say a big maybe.
Yeah, certainly wasn't expecting this. 6 1/3 at its height, coming down a little bit right now in the pre-market, doing volume to Intel. Headline here. So they're working with advisors, as we reported earlier this week, Morgan Stanley involved, to explore strategic options. Some of those options include selling or splitting the business Adara. Specifically, they're looking at moving one of their foundry business. It's nascent here still.
It's a really interesting report here from Bloomberg. We already had CNBC reporting about the involvement of at least Morgan Stanley, if not some of the other advisors. But this Bloomberg report giving us a clearer picture, saying that also a separation or sale of the foundry division is actually going to be pretty unlikely, even though that would definitely be a potential solution, just because they haven't secured enough external customers that they'd be able to compete with the likes of TSM should they separate. Also, interestingly enough, we had Pat Gelsinger, CEO, actually speaking at the Deutsche Bank convention yesterday, saying that he's aware of the company's challenges and said they're, quote, up for the challenge of making things right. They are down about 57% on the year as of yesterday.
All right, guys, every single name on my semis watch list is green right now.
Yeah, I mean, they should be. I mean, Marvell had a great quarter, and Marvell had great guidance. I think Dell, certainly their report's going to bring the chips to the upside and frankly, the entire sector, more or less. I think the Intel move, so we're not back to yet, and saying I'm not chasing, you're not back to yet that post-earnings relief rally top. That was like 21.75 or 21.80 on a wick basis, but 21.75. So until it gets through this, then color me at least a little bit skeptical of the move. It's one thing if you're taking pre-market breakouts and you're long at like 20.80. Like, don't get me wrong, like those, even this like 20.90, that looks pretty good. 21. A lot of times when you have a number at 8.30, I wouldn't always want to take a breakout trade, but this was already going, and you had to take that saying, okay, well, regardless of what happens with PCE, let's just take a break on Intel when it got the resistance. As far as chasing it, when I see that 21.75, 21.80 up there, let's see what happens at the open. Does Does the money actually step in when some profit gets taken and start buying it up again? And can you maybe pull back into that key 21 level for a little bit of support? That would be spicy to me. If that can happen and the buyers are ready, then I don't mind joining along. But chasing it up here, that close to overhead resistance, I mean, it's 30 cents to that prior top. Meanwhile, we just broke out 80 cents ago. So I don't like that kind of a play risk reward. I'd rather look for some dip buys and things like that. You know there's going to be volume on Nvidia. Marvell, which I know we're going to get to Marvell. Decent volume. They don't do a ton of pre-market volume. But look at this. Look at these guys. Like you the wipeout bottom. Everybody got a huge discount on the 6th. But now you could possibly take out this lower high at 78.5. Like that's in play today. You got prior tops at 76. You know, everything about the report was pretty good. So off the open, this one looks like a spicy one as well. Don't sleep on Marvell. Like, the days that you want to trade them are generally after they report.
Yeah, the one thing I want to say about all this kind of stuff here is that don't be fooled. Sharif just said everybody's up on the day they are. The thing is that you had such a huge move down at the end for a lot of these stocks to close pretty much near their lows. So like you'll be like, oh my God, Broadcom's up 3%, but it's just where we were at 1 o'clock yesterday. You know, so it's like, sure, there is a little bit of a rebound, but that's because we were all, you know, shell-shocked about the moves that were happening at the end of the day. So that's going to be apparent in pretty much all of these companies as we look at that. I mean, Nvidia is a perfect example where it's only back right now to 118.75. I mean, that's still really bad. You know, yesterday it was bouncing around 122 before eventually failing. AMD still well below any kind of level that you would have looked at for support yesterday. You know, like maybe you're right here, right now, 147.50, but we had a huge move down. So when you come in and you're seeing AMD up 1.29%, it's like a fugazi. It's not, it's still underneath everywhere where we were yesterday. You know, so I still throw caution to this market, even though it's up 0.73. It's just a relief rally off the bottom. I don't really think that this is a thing to get long and go crazy for longs. I mean, I do have some long ideas on here for sure. But at the end of the day, I don't want to get too excited that this market is really being lifted up here because honestly, I don't see that. So yeah, I still like the short in a lot of these plays. I don't know if we're going to be exactly on chip names because the one chip name that I'll probably be looking at today is going to be Intel because I am interested in all that. I just want to clarify to Bob W. He asked me in the chat, he said, I thought Sean wanted to get, I don't want Google to break up, but I don't think it'll be a bad thing at all. I'm saying if you're a failing company and one that's just been absolutely destroyed and by far the worst name in the chip space, by far the worst name in the Dow Jones, by far the worst name that anybody could have invested in that was, you know, known to be a blue chip company, Intel, that's a lot different than Google. So I think that if you're going to break up Google, I mean, YouTube alone is probably worth 5 Intels, you know, and so it's that kind of a thing that I think can be good for Google if that were to come through. But I think this is news for Intel. That is a catalyst. And I think that if we're going to be a catalyst-driven trader, an event trader, this is one that I'm going to have my eyes on. So Intel, we're all over this one. It'll be interesting to hear what maybe Michael Noss has to say about this.
Remember, at the beginning of the year, Intel was $50. $50.
That's what I'm saying.
Like here's you have to think about that for a second because it was like twice it was giving you like $25 for free and then it was a double up. Now, if you took it, great. Because that means if you held on to shares like I did, then I didn't lose on the proposition. But you lose on the proposition in that money would have been up elsewhere. So like you might not be down because you took profit, but you're down in like no matter what, like you're down because what the Nasdaq did, because of what everything else did. Like that's
impossible to be up on.
And you can't. Well, you can be up on your position. Sure, you can. It went 25 to 50, and it's at 20 now. That's easy math. Easy.
No, I'm saying right now, if you're holding shares now, you're down. You cannot be up. Unless you somehow bought at $20. And even then, you'd have to triple your position.
No, I'll tell you exactly how.
Okay.
Buy 25, sell 28, buy 25. Not sell all.
Right.
Sell a quarter at 38.
Right.
Buy 25 again. Sell a third at 50. So now it's at 20. So that's not, you're not down on the overall position.
No, but your overall position.
Oh, no, I was just saying. Okay, yeah. I was just saying.
Right. There's no
your
way
price
up
is
on Intel.
Yeah, price is out over the money. Is out of the money, but the trade is up. And that's sort of the thing. Like the trade, you can make money on a trade because you've taken profit, but it's sitting against you in that moment. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah. But net, you cannot be up on Intel over the last 10 years. Possible.
Unless you've traded it really well. It's that simple.
Yeah, okay.
But the more important thing is what I was saying about the opportunity cost. It's what you've done versus the market that matters overall. Like, what have you done in terms of the opportunity with that money because of where else it could have been? But that's the thing with shot plays. Like, if you have something that, like, look at Rivian, for example. Like, that Rivian could go to $100 at some point. But if it doesn't, it's what you missed out on as well, taking that shot. That's going to make a difference.
Like buying Nvidia.
Yeah, exactly.
You missed out on 3,000 points.
But then if you never try anything, then, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Yeah. A man who takes lots of shots is Michael Noss. Let's go to the Noss boss.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Noss. I saw today, I saw this week that there was this company called Nvidia. They reported on Wednesday. But there's some stuff other than Nvidia, Mr. Noss, that's moving in these markets, and it's doing quite well. Tell us about it.
Yeah, and this is, I tried to think about how I would do this without lecturing people, but I think I'm just going to lecture people this morning just because, again, no shade at anyone trading Nvidia or following the earnings. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on. Fun fact before I get started about Intel, if you take the moment that Intel was added to the Dow and you track its returns on a total return basis, so you include dividends and distributions and all this stuff, you still lost money, which is insane when you compare it to any. This is why we focus on relative strength. You could have bought literally any other semiconductor that has been going up and doing fantastic. So that's just my little rant about Intel before I get into a rant about Nvidia. So that's my first chart here, is just showing Nvidia. And holy smokes, I could not avoid, as someone who doesn't care about earnings, I look at statistics, I look at technicals, not really too interested in earnings. I couldn't avoid it. There was people out there. I saw one Twitter space that had like 75,000 people in it listening to earnings. I saw videos of people doing watch parties in bars where they were just like hoeing and humming every time it moved. It's crazy. So if you go to the chart, didn't move. There's no big deal, right? And the question is, and I saw Neil talking about opportunity costs, is if you're so laser focused on one stock and one instrument, what do you miss? So we're going to talk about some things that you may have missed if you focus a little bit too hard on Nvidia, to kind of have people broaden their horizon, so that when I come back on Monday with monthly charts, maybe you guys are more open to looking at things that I guess aren't Nvidia. So next chart is just the semiconductor index. So it's very interesting that SMH, if you compare those two charts with Nvidia gapping down and selling off a little bit, less than a 1 standard deviation move, SMH is holding its ground, doing okay. So we could be seeing not only rotation within the market, but we could be seeing rotation within the semiconductor space, where people are taking some profits on Nvidia, they're buying some other semiconductors out there. So even if you're still very stuck on the AI and the semiconductor trade, then you could go elsewhere and look at other things. And I think the max pain trade on Nvidia is going to be the fact that it might go nowhere for the next couple weeks or months. And that will chop up a lot of people's money and make a lot of market makers selling options very, very wealthy. Another thing that you may have missed, the next chart here, is old Papa or Uncle Warren has reached the $1 trillion club. So this is Berk B. If you add up Berk B and Berk A making new all-time highs yesterday, and then new all-time highs the day before that, all of it without this Nvidia stuff going on. Berkshire Hathaway has reached the $1 trillion club. So it's now the 7th, I think, most valuable company or ETF or fund or however it's structured in the entire world. So again, without Nvidia, cool stuff that's happening out there. So next chart is the Dow. New all-time closing high for the Dow yesterday. That's amazing. And I can guarantee you the Dow doesn't have Nvidia in it. Actually, the Dow has Intel in it. So I see when I was in the green room, Intel gapping up a little bit this morning, the guys were talking about. So we could see some good continuation for the Dow, something that's hitting new all-time highs. I would take a focus on Dow and Dow components. These are more boring stocks, but they're moving and they're hitting new all-time highs. So that's where we have to be focused, as opposed to the stuff that's moving lower, or in NVIDIA's case, not really moving at all. Next chart is financials. XLF, new all-time highs, closing highs yesterday. So we're hitting new all-time highs in financials. We're hitting new all-time highs with Warren Buffett. We're hitting new all-time highs in the Dow. there's a lot of cool things that are going on. So this is why at Trade Ideas we sell stock scanners, is because we want to be seeing this stuff as it's hitting new all-time highs and looking to get involved there. And then this last chart is something that looks like, with one little pump, could be hitting not new all-time highs, but breaking out a new multi-years high. And this is XBI. This is our biotech sector. This is looking very, very primed against this horizontal resistance level it's been hanging out for a long time at, I think it's like $102 or $103 a share. So we got to keep an eye on there. So, the moral of the lecture, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. The moral of the lecture, I think today is that, broaden your horizons. It's fun to watch these things. I guess it's fun for some people to go to a bar and watch a stock report earnings. But for me, I'm going to be spending my weekend avoiding any talk of Nvidia and going through all of these monthly charts. So we have a monthly close and a weekly close tonight. So then going Monday, when I see you guys, I'll have a fresh batch of monthly charts, and we'll see if we can catch some more all-time highs as opposed to kind of looking at this Nvidia thing.
When you talk about the rotation trade, Michael, a lot of has been made about the Russ and the small caps trying to catch up to these larger cap or the mid caps. That's not the only type of rotation trade that we can have, as you just demonstrated. There's larger cap tech here, mid cap tech that's moving up. And so is there any way other than just, going through chart after chart, which I know you did?
There's a couple ways to do it. So one of my favorite filters we have in Trade Ideas, and I'll give this scan, I'll just make one up and I'll give it to the guys over at Trade Ideas so you can ask, or my Twitter's down below, you can ask me there. Okay. But I just take the top sectors and I sort them by how close they are to their 52-week highs. And then that's how I found things like XBI that aren't breaking through their 52-week highs yet, but they're very, very close to it. And if you sort that list from the top down, it gives you a very clear understanding of these are the things that are close to their 52-week highs, and these are the things at the bottom of their 52-week highs. And you can do the same with stocks. You would notice that some semiconductor out there must be close to its 52-week highs because it's making up for Nvidia's selling. And then we know Intel, for example, is at 52 or at 10-year lows. So just by taking the entire universe and saying, only show me the stuff that's really close to its high, you'll just naturally find things in great uptrends.
Fantastic. Chartered market technician Michael Noss from Trade Ideas. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you Tuesday. Enjoy your long weekend.
See you Tuesday.
Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Michael. And I almost forgot that it was a weekend. I'm not going to lie. Had to remind not to have a pickup on Monday morning.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday afternoon.
Well, what's crazy is I completely forgot. It was. I usually so since I got hurt, I have a car that comes pick me up. I can't drive, right? So every week I have to confirm like the schedule. It's like, oh, this day pick up this time, and I'm doing the aftermarket show this day, so pick up that in the afternoon that time or whatnot. And that's not done until like usually Tuesday or Wednesday the prior week. So it was earlier in the week that I forgot when I was saying what the schedule was going to be next week. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, Monday this and that. And then it was when it was just like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to send an email being like, oh, yeah, don't come to get me on Monday because I'll hopefully be sleeping in. But nobody should be sleeping in on those charts if that's what you do. If you're a swing trader like Michael is, as the chief's like, oh, is there another way other than putting those, doing those charts? Yeah, you can have indicators and studies and things that'll maybe get you there a little bit faster, but you do have to dig through and look at pretty much everything. The stocks that you're trading, you want to go over multiple time frames. You want to just do that diligence. And I'll give you an example of that. Like last night, Lunar got a NASA contract. And I was like, oh, this is big short flow. Danielle was even pretty excited about what it looked like if it could have broken out, given the short flow, where it was on the charts. And I came in this morning, looked at the 15-minute, and I'm like, oh, yeah, look at this potential break here on Lunar at 6:15. Okay, that looks pretty odd. Okay, it's more like 6:13, doesn't really matter. But that looks pretty juicy if you can get up there. Well, you go to the daily chart. Oh, wait a minute. There's overhead resistance like 10 cents higher. And that the big level from May, like May 14th, May 12th, whatever these are. And here, it needs to break through that. Maybe the 20s and the quarters are a better level. Then you get a bigger gap. Always look at that higher time frame because you never want to be punching long into overhead resistance. And the post-earnings high is slightly lower than the May high. So let it clear out that high from May. And I'm just using this as an example of why you should look at multiple time frames when you're trading. Even if you're a day trader, you still want to have an idea what the history of the stock is because levels like these tend to have people that bought into here and are like very, very happy when it comes back that they can get break even. So when that happens, there's generally going to be sellers taking profit. Like that's how people that are in things like this make money, right? Like you don't go long here to take nothing out when it gets to 6, because that doesn't make sense in a stock that's downward trending or a small cap. So always make sure you zoom out. I just revised any trade I'd have on Lunar to reflect needing a 620 break for it to be a good long. I wouldn't take that 10 anymore.
Yeah, and Michael also mentioned XBI, so that was something that I was mentioning as well, and I'm glad that he's liking this. This is another one I was saying is looking like it wants to break out. So, of course, biotech, I mean, I like the space. There hasn't even really been too many great moves in biotech. We've seen Moderna and some of their names go to the downside, but then, of course, you get the big GLP-1s and all that kind of stuff. So, and then the other one is XLV, which we've been talking about for a while, and Neil always mentions back in November when on the podcast, we were talking about strength in the Dow and buying some of that because it was down so much against the NASDAQ. So it's nice to see that breaking out. And look at XLV that we've been going on and on and on and on and on. And I mean, continues to keep going higher. So I really like healthcare and that sort of space. So that continues to work as well, along with our XLE, which we've just bought over the last couple, I think it was last week we tweeted this out. That we got into the XLE, and that's trying to go as well. I think a nice 92 break gets us into 94, and then you can rethink about this trade as well. But just as an investment, these are some ETFs that I hold.
I didn't know Allbirds. Oh.
All right, guys, let's look at the ES here to start with the futures look. We closed at 56.10, the exact same level that we closed out the day prior. You can see here basically from the 19th onwards, we've been locked in a 50-point zone between 5,600 and 5,650. We're still locked in that zone. We defended 5,600 well, but we also rejected 5,650 again yesterday. So those are the two same resistance and support levels, 5,600 as support, 5,650 as resistance. Make sure to get that watch list. Guys, Adair prepares it every day, and we all use it here. No good morning routine is complete without that watch list, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description to get that. Let's start off here, Adair, with Dell. They reported yesterday they're up 5 1/3. Lots of good stuff to talk about. Take us through it.
Yes, they did have a beat here for earnings per share and for sales. Adjusted earnings of $1.89 per share compared to estimates of $1.71. Sales of $25.03 billion compared to estimates of $24.14 billion. So it's a pretty salient sales beat there. They also said they're expecting top-line growth in the second half of the year, actually raising their revenue guidance for fiscal 2024. So that's certainly a good look. Also talking a lot about their AI potential and specific AI-related milestones here. 23% sequential increase in demand for AI-optimized servers.
If there's one bad thing that you could say here, there was a decline in the storage revenue and consumer PC sales as people are still not upgraded their computers out of that COVID cycle, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was overall a good report, and the market certainly going to like it because I think it was sort of necessary. And I think you wanted to see after what happened with SMCI the last few days was you wanted to see some strength out of Dell. I think it would have not looked good, and it would have been a problem if they'd had, like if these guys had a bad report. I don't even know what was going to happen to SMCI on a day like today. But I actually love this daily chart. I love trend lines. I like to use trend lines on daily charts. This one is one of the examples of what can happen when you break a long trend up. And the scarier thing about this move is when you have like a trend like this. Look what happened on the fail of this trend break. So that's the fail of the trend break. Tries to retest the high, does not, and then breaks down. That's kind of one of those like reversal patterns. And I don't overnight short anything, but that's one of those patterns you don't want to look long. And now all of a sudden, Dell does look a lot better. It's regained the 200 period moving average. Now, obviously, it's broken the channel we're in the last couple of days here. You do have this little double top from 114. That looks like a bit of a go zone. I don't think it's the number one trading vehicle for me. I mean, Intel's moving a lot today. Nvidia, AMD I like to trade. It's going to be hard. Marvell's in play. Squeezing Dell in is probably not going to happen, but the general play for me would be as long as it bounces off of 114, look for dip buys on Dell. I just like what this means overall for the market more than anything else.
So I think you get a little saved here on Dell. So Dell this year, still up, man, like $75, $80 started the year, goes all the way to $185. Forget about some of those tops. We just talked about the AMD top at $227 and where it is now. So you are on a pretty big move down there. And now you've basically gained it all back and now stopping at the 200 period or the 50 period moving average. So as long as you stay underneath this thing, I think it's a sell, and I would be using this buy here to get out of Dell right now. So I mean, again, just for a swing trade, for a longer term, I mean, I think we could buy good companies for a while. That's all good. And I just think this 120 or so area right into there is a great sell spot. Or if you want to take some off there and then let it get through 125 and then buy it back, give yourself $5. But this one was $85 2.5 weeks ago. So the fact that you're going to be able to sell it now for 120 is pretty good, especially ahead of all the worries in SMCI and things like that. So I think Dell's a sell up here. But yeah, it's been a good move. And 120, you only got it if you were there for a couple seconds in the after hours. So other than that level may not come back. And if it does, I think it's a short.
Part of the show is brought to you by Moomoo. Looking to maximize your idle cash? Earn 8.1% on idle funds for up to 3 months. Plus, US users can take advantage of up to 15 free stocks and $300 in cash rewards. Hey, Canada, you're not left out. Enjoy 6% on cash balances, along with a 2-month commission rebate. Sign up with Moomoo and trade global markets with just one account. Gain access to an extensive range of data on stocks, options, and ETFs, complemented by over 100 charting tools and indicators, price forecasting, weekly rating reports, and instant alerts, all designed to elevate your trading game. For more details and the full terms and conditions, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Thanks to Moomoo for sponsoring this part of the show.
All right, from Moomoo, we go to Lulu. And they reported yesterday, it was a bit of a weird one here. It really went down there, testing 235, was able to recover. They're actually up 4% here. It was mixed results, guys. I'll let Adair go through this, but revenue, was up 7% year over year, but it did miss expectations. Earnings per share beat. Net income up nicely, about almost $400 million, but there were troubles with this report, Adair.
There were definitely troubles, and you're right. It's also interesting that it's up, given that the analyst reaction, from what I see, generally seems to be a bit negative. We have Raymond James, Morgan Stanley, and BofA Securities all lowering their price targets for the stock. Ashtree suggested mixed results here, beating for GAAP earnings per share. $3.15 versus $2.94 expected, but their sales were a miss, $2.371 billion versus estimates of $2.409 billion. They also had lower than expected guidance here for fiscal 2024 earnings per share and for revenue. So generally weaker than expected, with the exception of that EPS beat.
All right, guys, it's been a mixed bag for some of these retailers, some up, some down. What's the look?
Yeah, I think you want to be cautionary with this. I mean, it's got a big spread, as it usually does. So there's going to be more volume than normal in Lulu today, but it still has a decent spread and not a lot of liquidity yet. So I want to see what happens at the open. The reality is, even like any stock can report good or bad, but sometimes it's about where it's been more than anything else. And where it's been is getting trashed and probably respecting the 50 period in the bad way more than any stock that I've looked at recently. So it needs to break it. And we said this with Danielle Shea, this needs to get over that. And if it can, I think it's going to start to look better. You have made a distinct-ish bottom and then kind of like another hammer in here above 250. So I would think it's at a potential turnaround spot. It's never a bad thing when a company doesn't have what would seem to be a very good report, sells off like you would expect, and then you come in and all of a sudden they're buying the bad news. When bad news is getting bought, that's not a bad thing. I'd love to see it hold on to that 50 period on the north side, which would mean breaking out above 272. And I think it needs to take 275 for any kind of big trades. And I don't see any activity on it right now. So if it starts going and breaking out 275, I think that could be something worth joining on Lulu. But you have to wait until the open here. No volume yet.
All right. Yeah, look, I mean, again, great dip buy opportunities for Lululemon if you're able to get that in and around that 240 area. But yeah, the 50 period is pretty obvious. So there it is right there on the daily. We talk about that all the time, and it's got to get above it. And right now it's just added. So I think, again, a selling opportunity for Lululemon until it proves us wrong. So I'd like a break of 280 to be wrong on that. So if you are able to buy anything down here, look, I'm doing as I'm saying on all the stocks myself as well. You know, like Starbucks, we got out of some of that because of the move, and it looked like it was topped out. And we talked about the $99, $100 level that goes back ages, right? All of this stuff. There's people in here that will buy and sell stock, and you know, we'll always talk about, oh, I bought at the bottom and sold at the top. It's just probably not true, but they like to say it. Nike here as well. Again, we've talked about where we bought this name down here, and now it's looking top heavy, so we're selling it. So that's why I'm using Dell and Lulu and all those things as examples where you're coming into levels and you're getting rid of some of the stock. So I think it's the report is what it is. I mean, it was pretty good, up 4.5% here. We'll tell you the story. Inventory hopefully under control a little bit better. A lot of competition in the space. I just think like a Nike and everything like that, I just see so much sort of headwinds as far as the retail sector and being unique enough, like with Amazon out there. And then now there's options, and we talked about Hookah and On and a few other names. Neil had Allbirds up just now. We saw Foot Locker. So I don't know. I think Lululemon's probably had its best days, but could be a great stock breaking through this 280. So for me right now, great recovery from the bottom. We were just here. It hasn't made the moves up like other stocks have from that August 5th bottom, but at the end of the day, it's trying to break through 280. So I kind of like the stock.
Alibaba up 4 2/3, guys. Good look here. Shares are trading higher after they fixed whatever problems they had with the regulator back in 2021. The State Administration for Market Regulation fined them about $2.25 billion, about 18.25 billion yuan for what they, Adara, said were monopolistic practices. But they're on their good books now because they're praising them. They're saying they did well.
Yeah, they completed this 3-year period of rectification, as they put it, for what happened there. And this issue also caused them some issues with Ant Group, which is their fintech affiliate, with their IPO, some regulatory scrutiny there as well, basically saying that Alibaba has completely stopped the monopoly behavior of picking one from two. So saying that there's less monopolistic practices going on for Alibaba. Worth noting as well in the Chinese ADR space, a more general story here. We did have sovereign fund Huijin apparently increasing its holdings in some blue chip ETFs, according to filings. This is also a state-backed fund, so that's certainly a note here. Huijin increasing its fund amid some increased stimulus speculations.
ADR strong this morning, boys.
I mean, we're always looking to buy some Alibaba, and I mean, it's been a good stock. I think it's holding the 50-period moving average. We talked about getting some of this near $80 if you liked it. You know, we're long lower, but it doesn't matter. It's trading well, and I've already said this. If this was not an ADR and was a U.S. company or European or something like that, I feel that this company would have a 1 for sure in front of it. So now you're at $85, looking to get a little bit higher here. Again, catalyst, Chinese economy. One day you get it. They're curbing the stock market so that you can't short sell, and they're adding more money into it. Every day there's a different story, it seems like, and that's where you get this move where you were just here Monday, you fell back into $80, and now you're back here Friday again. So I don't know. I like the stock. I'm not super excited about it in this area. You could be here for a trade. We've really traded Alibaba well in the past, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, I don't like the trade. I think this is something that we've done really well on. VWAP is 84.50. For me, that's the only trade.
As long as it holds on to 84, I like it in here. And I'm just looking at like a double top in there of sorts. And I'm not really. Sometimes when you have a day like this, and this will be the 23rd, you gap up, hold the level, and then the next day it's like it didn't exist. So you have this close at 84, you have resistance at 84, and then you have this right here going into the open resisting 84. So as long as it holds on to that, I like Alibaba for longs. It would need to take out the top, so I think anything 84 into this 85.5 or 86, that's like profit taking if you get a long bounce at 84 even. And the other thing that's happening on Alibaba is if you draw it out, there you go, you've got this kind of long-ish trend since this double top where it's tried to get through these highs and hasn't really done so. Now you're gapping back above the trend line. It needs to take out that top, but the holding of this 84 area is kind of the same thing. You're holding on to the top of the trend line and trying to break this one out. So if it does, I just want to be there that day, which doesn't mean look for longs as long as it's holding on to the 84 and be willing to give them up if it fails. Because as long as you can keep this upward trend, at some point, I think there can be some explosion in the mid 80s to get you into the 90s on Alibaba. It's the only one I'm looking at. I think you always want to keep an eye on Pinduoduo just because of how much it's moved recently. Obviously, it had that big, nasty downward, whatever, flush, whatever we're calling it, and it has rebounded rather nicely. And if this does get back above 100, it's about 102. That's a pretty big resistance level. Like if this starts filling in a gap, 102 would be very interesting for breakout. I just don't think that's very likely. It'll go that much today on Friday. So I'd rather look at Alibaba off of 84.
All right, we'll go on to another microchip here named Marvell, up big in the pre-market, almost 12% higher at the highs. This was an interesting mixed report, guys. So they beat on the consensus estimate for earnings. They beat on the consensus estimate for revenue. They guided decently here into the next quarter, Adara, but there were issues. I mean, total revenue for the second quarter was down 5%, but on the other side of the coin, you had their data center revenue doubling from $459 million to $880. You've got to assume some of that was AI driven.
It's a very interesting report here. They actually had a 10% sequential increase there in the sales. So 1.27 billion versus estimates of 1.25 billion. Their GAAP EPS, though, actually in line with estimates here at 30 cents per share. Guidance for Marvell is always a little interesting. They'll give you a bit more of a range. So right now they're guiding EPS of 40 cents plus or minus 5 cents and revenue here of 1.45 billion plus or minus 5%. What I saw the guide was what a lot of analysts like about this. They have gotten some price target increases here this morning, including from Evercore ISI.
All right, guys, up big in the pre-market. What is the look?
So this is one of the ones, it's outpacing what we were expecting on the move. You're only supposed to have, 9%, and it's 12. 78.5 is looming for resistance on the daily here for a potential breakout. I always like to look at prior resistance on an earnings day because if they start taking the sell and into that gap, you've got 76. It would have to break VWAP to do it. And if we do reverse, there's your resistance on the daily. And 76 is the prior high, like just in and around some pre-market low. So that's the look on Marvell. I just want to keep it relatively simple. Did we go over Nvidia? Don't know if we did, but probably a good time to do so because it's 917 and it's a chip name, Marvell. So Nvidia, the second it got underneath that 120 level, remember in the aftermarket show on Wednesday, we talked sort of heavily about all the buying that was being done at 120. Then you saw it twice in the first hour of the show, well, the live show anyways, the first hour of the trading session, the buyers at the 120 level. When they lost them last night in the afternoon, it was pretty nasty to the downside. Like the biggest move since the open was when we lost 120. So that's an important spot here for Nvidia. If we cannot break out the 120, I don't care how strong the market is for this particular stock up there, if the sellers come back in, that's the one place I would look to fade it. Because if it takes it out, I think it's headed right into that 123. Because range bound after earnings is never surprising when it gives you a defined range. And until it decides it wants to break away from that range, I think it's tradable in the two or 3 days after the earnings report here for Nvidia.
Yeah, it is going to be your number one trade idea off the sticky notes. So there it is right here. It's try to go long. Yay, it's Friday. All right, so just right there, Nvidia 120 long. Long if we get above it and hold it. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. I would not short this name. I would not stand in the way of Nvidia whatsoever. I think that's fool's gold to do that. But if it gets above and holds 120, then we really, really like Nvidia. So we'll see if we could do that. This has been a top name for me all week and for the show. So I really believe that if we can hold this 120, then yeah, man. I mean, just like we nailed this yesterday, we'll see if we can do it again here today. So let's just be patient with Nvidia. As far as Marvell, yeah, Neil's right. There is no simpler of way to discuss this. You have your 76 there. I'm just looking at it now for the first time. And when you're looking at it, it's quite obvious. There's the 76 top right there. So it looks like, we've broken through there. That would be some kind of a support. And I actually think you can get that 78.50. I mean, that's obviously the high of the day. So when you get a 78.50 high break on an outpacing report, I like it. I think it can continue forward. So I like Marvell here to break through that 78.50. it's going to be a little bit, you're going to have to watch the spread, I feel like, especially off the open. And if that happens right off the open, I don't know if I like it. I'd rather kind of baseline down here and see if we can get a 77 maybe. But yeah, 78.50. You'll probably look back and say, why didn't we hit that? But that's just going to be another one of those names. And then, of course, we're going to go to Ulta Beauty next, which is a big miss. So basically, again, in a market that is, of course, not rigged, you have Warren Buffett buying it at some point and then releasing it, and then it goes up 10 or 15%, right? And then all of a sudden, the goods come out, and then it drops at 8 or 9%. So the Warren Buffett bounce on Ulta. Let's go find out about it.
Yeah, it was not a beautiful report here for Ulta Beauty. Guys, earnings per share, missed expectations. Revenue, missed expectations. Comparable sales, missed expectations. And last but not least here, Dara, dropped or lowered for your guide.
The guidance is particularly weak, lowering their guidance for earnings per share and for revenue. They also have the CEO saying that they're clear about the factors that adversely impacted the store performance, and they have actions underway to address the trends, basically saying that they want to drive stronger sales and traffic. They did note comparable sales, as you mentioned there, particularly a concern for them. But in terms of the guidance here, lowering EPS guidance from $25.20 to $26 to a new range here of $22.60 to $23.50. So that's quite the cut. Their net sales guidance was formerly 11.5 to 11.6 billion. Now it's 11 billion to 11.2 billion. Not a great birthday gift here for Warren Buffett, who turns 94 today, and he actually just recently got involved in 690,000 shares of this name for BRK as of the most recent 13F filing.
Happy birthday, Uncle Warren.
For him. I mean, he doesn't. I don't think he's not the type of investor. Yeah, he is not the type of investor that cares about what happens over like weeks and months, Mr. Warren. But he can't like this today. I feel like if they want to buy this one up, if this one gets bought up today, I just want to be getting out of the way of it and not trying to fight it. Like this, it does set up for what we were talking about the last couple of days with Ryan Faluna. Had some really good ideas, one of our good guests from Benzinga, and he had a great sort of concept where if you show a range in the aftermarket or in the pre-market on earnings, and then that range is respected, have a quick look at breaks away from that. And if you look at some selling in here in the 43, 44 zone, some support. I mean, I'd say the support anywhere from like 336 and then up here like the 338. If it starts taking out these tops and whatever that bar coding is at 42, if it takes out this top at 43, 44, it's probably not worth fighting it for the short just because you think it's a bad report. So following those rules, if it fails that and tries to break and doesn't go, I think it then turns into a short trade. So you need to observe the open for that setup, but it absolutely can work. I think a firm it wasn't a firm, it was Chewy gave you a great example of that for the long side. Ulta would be a potential one for the short side of it, but you have to observe the open to see if it decides to fail that top or fail that bottom before reversing it.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much, Rob. Got the refill on the coffee.
Thank you, Rob.
Chilly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, shout out to Ryan Faluna, who's clearly been watching Trader TV live for a very long time, because we've talked about this forever, man. We are a breakout and range trader, man, and that's exactly what Neil was just talking about right there. If you break the highs, great. If you break the lows, great. There is trading here, and it's range-bound trading, and that's pretty much exactly what we look at. But I can guarantee you right now, Ulta Beauty will not get traded here today. But I think as an investment, I think, again, this sort of Berkshire bump spot there, remember, it was filed, so he's long in here somewhere. You know, it was filed, what it was for as of June 30th, I think it was the filing. So it didn't quite get back up to where Berkshire, and again, it's not necessarily Warren Buffett making the decisions, but it didn't quite get to this level and hold, obviously. So I feel like there could be some sell pressure today added on to this. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they don't add to their position and potentially wait to buy it near some of these bottoms or look to dump it all together. So shout out again to everybody out there, and maybe one of our number one fans, Mr. Ryan Faluna from Benzinga. Make sure you guys do check Benzinga out, link in description. And I believe he's probably on tonight's show.
Yes, sir. We do have Ryan Faluna on the aftermarket show tonight. So we'll be able to talk about whether he took any of those types of trades. Again, I didn't see the problem yesterday with a lot of that setup was most of the earnings plays were like extreme. meaning where you were in the aftermarket, you weren't exactly trading that same range. You were breaking higher and doing extreme things. The perfect example would be a firm. Like a firm essentially took that aftermarket consolidation and threw it out the window and said, all you can do is dip into that prior high and then just rally. Just because we're looking at a firm, I think you want to at least observe a continuation play here. That 40 level where things really got intense and made that secondary push is definitely a spicy one on the daily chart. It's all kinds of resistance there. So if we can hold on to that 40, I don't want to completely forget about a firm. This was a monster move yesterday. It was a good long trade that certainly could have been better. Just missed one entry point. It was that third time trying to get into it that we didn't pick it up that third time. You got it a couple times early, off of VWAP there and off of 38, but you needed to also grab this long, and that was the best long, or maybe just taking the breakout, but that was the best long in here when it dipped off VWAP at about 950. So I want to be looking at a firm. If there is a dip into that 40 level, looks like it can be a decent one. Lulu, we're just going to go over some things here. We have 4 minutes to go, so we actually have a little bit of time. The imbalances should have come out. Lulu, I want to see how this holds off the open. If it can take the top off on the 15 up here at 275, that looks very, very juicy. Just because it was a bad report and a lot of people probably dumping shares and suddenly you have a chance to break out. If they're buying it up on a bad report, I think a lot of times that can be very, very spicy. And then checking back in on Intel, we said don't chase. It's actually holding the highs. So I kind of thought it was going to dip back in at 21 at the open. Could be wrong about that, but we'll see what happens with Intel here. Still not believing in buying the top at the open. I wouldn't do it, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm bidding right now Intel down at $20.50. We'll see if that can hit. It's not going to. I was debating making that move right off the open. Breaks have been good on names I wanted to go. So, we talked about Tesla yesterday, Intel possibly today, but I written down on the sticky note, which is up at Trader TV, Sean, 21.75. So that was going to be that break spot. We've already hit 21.50 and bounced off of that. 21.75 has to have been from somewhere. There it is right there. So a couple days ago, I guess last week into this level, that's 21.50. And then right there on, I'm just trying to find the date here before this all loads up. Yeah, the 20th or 21st, there's 75s and 80s. So I just think you get through all this. Intel's been here before, like I said, just got hit down right back up here again. So could be a sell the moment situation. So we'll probably go long, but maybe not as many shares. I don't have that order in to break. The trade that really got us going yesterday was this Tesla break of 210.50. So I think we can put that in again. That's been the day high. Right now, that's 210. We'll see if we can break that. We did it yesterday and it worked. If it doesn't work, we can get out. So I feel pretty good about that trade. Here comes Nvidia. I said no short. Anybody that likes that play can get it pretty much right now. It's a 119.60. I think if you liked it, it's an opportunity to do it here. I'm going to wait for it to break 120 and then play the long. So that's going to be my play for Nvidia. So there's a couple ideas right there. And then one that I wrote down here that, hey, man, PayPal. PayPal is an absolute monster so far this year. People can, hate on this name or whatever they want to do. But PayPal is right here, man, $57, $58, now $75. So basically you're up 30, 40 something percent on the year. It's PayPal outpacing the NASDAQ and outpacing a lot of stocks in all of our portfolios. PayPal, what a move. So I'm thinking $74 to break to the highs. That could be something there. And that's written on the sticky note as well, 52-week highs of $74 coming in there for PayPal. So, again, I may take that as a break long, but definitely want to see how it reacts. Tesla 210.50 might be the first trade for me.
So there was an imbalance, at least initially, on Nvidia, 400,000 to the buy side. It's now gone. I just see NEO now for 650,000, Baba for 150,000. There was a move down on Apple just now, even though I didn't see an imbalance at all on that one. That moved slightly to the downside. And then Tesla also with a small move down. Probably just imbalances that paired off right away that caused those. So nothing terribly extreme in those. Marvell is in play, although that top end break, okay, it's back in play. It actually went down to 70. It went down to 77 and now right back up to 78. So this is It's a bit of a spread, certainly a little bit spready here on Marvell. That 76 is where I'm looking for a dip buy. As we are rounding out the week, it is Friday. It's not just the end of the week. Hey, it's the end of the month.
Yeah.
Right? So last day of the trading month of August. So let's get locked and loaded and ready. There is a Dara. Let's ring it for the final time in August in 2 and 1. Let's go.
Yeah. Wow, August is now over. Okay. All right. So Nvidia's still doing its thing. I was watching out for Amazon. I like this 170. We didn't get over this, but I like this 174.20 break there on Amazon. So that could be a play as well. Still watching out for Tesla as it's going to the upside. Intel falling back into VWAP. That makes sense. That's a decent long there if you wanted that long. On Intel down into 2130. I see you've got Marvell on.
Oh, that was like, hold on a second. Yeah, that broke, went to 79. I threw my stop. Let me just try to get back into it. We just threw the order on the wrong level. So I got into it, went all the way up to 79. Went to throw a stop at 78, did not throw the stop at 78 because I was trying to get an order out on Lunar, which, by the way, Lunar is very, very close to breaking that $6 level. I like 620. Originally on my note, I said 613, and then I revised it to $6.20 on LUNR. Oh, never mind. It's now down at 570. That stock's actually tanking to the downside. So Lunar is not in play anymore. That is not even close. That's actually falling down.
Yeah, Apple's going to the downside, says Sharif right now. We almost got into...
Apple is seriously tanking. Bye-bye. And then there goes Marvell through 78. So Marvell loses the bid as well. We're starting to reverse here. The market just wicked the highs and made a big reversal back into the downside. So went over to Marvell. We like the breakout. On earnings, I missed that one day that it went absolutely haywire, but we took our 78 and it did not work out. So downside goes Marvell. Intel's all the way back to $21.
All the way back.
So that dip is starting to come in rather heavy. I don't want to sit in any falling knives here. We were certainly expecting a little bit more strength than this. Let's let things calm down. As I said, Lunar, that small cap, was primed to break out. I like 20s instead of 13s, but it doesn't matter at this point. You've now lost the bid on LUNR. That one's headed to the downside. Alibaba's holding on to VWAP, but let's let things calm down. I don't want to be catching falling knives. After one failed break already, the market's really starting to drop a little bit here.
Yeah, we got 209.50s there on Tesla. Whoopsies, on Tesla. We were trying to get actually 20. There we go. We just punched out a little bit there. We were just sitting there. It's not. This is not a huge trade. We're trying to get that 210.50, but as Neil just said, the market just came back in, so we'll just punch out of a little bit there, and then get out of a little bit more. And now watch out. Okay, here it comes right back up. I don't know what that little dump out was all about, but we're still waiting for 210.50 breakout here on, okay, well now it's back up. 210.50 breakout on Tesla. We'll see if we can get some of this out now at 210 for a winner, but that just came and went pretty quickly there. Was not expecting that. What's up, Adara?
Big volume spike right off the open here for TOVX. This one trades on the AMEX. This is actually a day two runner here in the small cap space. Theriva Biologics with a market cap of just under $5 million yesterday, announcing they received a patent application notice of allowance here from the U.S. with regards to the treatment of this C. difficile disease. So TOVX looking for a day two move, guys.
I'm going to look at 206 here for Tesla. That was a level that we had talked about a couple days ago, I believe, or something like that. 206 coming in here for Tesla. It's been a level yesterday, but it was something, and we'll just have to zoom back out here. But right there, 206 would be the worst spot there for TSLA. So that came in, we got out, we lost a little bit there. That was just sitting around. I wasn't expecting it to come back into VWAP that quickly. But you can see VWAP is completely turned on its head, and the market starts now to head southbound. And that was a great position. I know you had Marvell, but Nvidia there, I said I was not going to short in front of 120, but those of you that did right now are getting a $1.50 winner.
Speaking of opportunity
right
cost,
in, yeah. So
like that was
the shorts are in.
I was more bullish than I was bearish, so I went for the breakout trade, and I'm only taking one. I went to Marvell that lost, and then Nvidia at 120. It was an opportunity, but it doesn't matter. It's gone now. Look, if it holds underneath 120, maybe we get back to it. The other thing I neglected to go over AMD. That's my bad. AMD, the level isn't really that complicated. It had a 149 high. It had a 148 quarter lower high, and that's a pre-market high as well. So I'm sticking with the short the pops on AMD. That's the area to do it. It never got there, so I don't have to worry about it. Intel's back at 21 already. Mm-hmm. So that dip, it actually held once. I didn't see this the second time for any size, but there was there was some size. It's not going to matter too much whether there's a few 100,000 shares on a bid like this when it's done 11 million, but there was some size on this bid that's now bounced it twice on Intel. So I'm thinking this could start to look a little bit better. We did not want to chase the top on this. If we don't get 21s again, then I'd look for something along the lines of VWAP or a dip play. And Alibaba was the other one. I wanted 84 in Alibaba. It's starting to drift down into 84. So if it can do this at 84, looking for an initial bounce. Was expecting a dip buy on Alibaba because Chinese ADRs, they either break it right away and run, or they put you through the ringers and dip it first. So no buying stepping in at 84. As a matter of fact, it was pretty much nothing there. So I'm not going to sit on the bid when it's falling. We'll go over to Intel because that's looking a little bit stronger at this moment.
All right, so 20 handles here on the futures. We just took that long rate down into there, so there's a nice move back up on the TQQ. But again, it just bounced off VWAP. I was looking for some stronger plays off VWAP, and we're just going to have to try to respect all of this as we go, man. I mean, that TQQ play has been a great one, but we've also been able to see it make huge moves to the downside. I had written down on the sticky note the 65.50, that bottom down here, to look out for that. But here we are coming into the 200 period, so we're going to try to play off of that right now and the bottom of the day. This is also a great breaking spot to go short. So if we lose this area, you got to be careful about that. We are now into, let's go, fired off into Intel right now. I'm only going to give this one to 21.17. If it breaks lower than that, we're out on an upsized position here for Intel, trying to break higher now, long at 21.25 only.
Yeah, I just got BABA right back through 84. A couple of times it's gone back and forth on BABA, but it just took out that 90. I'm on the bid for VWAP. I kind of probably just did the same thing. Didn't get 21s and want to try to get VWAP if that's the only place we can get it. There was also consolidation in this area, and that's a big if. But I'm looking back over at Marvell, and Marvell, it entered twice. Marvell, after we got out of the breakout trade, this is why you got to get out. Big level, when it rejects a level like that, if you don't get out of dodge, that is what can happen. So Marvell's all the way back into 74. I'll look back at it. I don't mind looking back at it at a later time, but I mean, this is the reason you have to have an out on a breakout trade, because it's a big level for a reason. And when it's a big level and it rejects, it can get very nasty very, very quickly. Ulta Beauty, also worth watching. I know there's a lot of earnings names that we're paying attention to. That broke out. I said if it broke, I'm not going to fight it. But remember, there was that range break. It makes the range break, and now it's at $350. So Ulta is going to the upside. Not a beautiful looking chart if you zoom it out, but if you just look at the last 5 minutes, it looks pretty good.
Okay, here we go, guys. This is like a 60 or 70 handle winner on the futures, of course, as that's the only stock that we've been able to win on so far here today. Let's see if Intel can come back in as well. Of course, they're Marvell and Alibaba, and then Tesla not working out for me. But the TQQs right now trying to go back up. So we'll take a little fill there at 68.13. And again, the reason why we talk about handles, there goes Intel missed. So Intel drops down below. So again, another one there. We'll go 1 for 3 so far right now with a nice win on, I mean, Intel could still come back up. I mean, all it did was go to VWAP there. But the problem is, man, is that, again, oh, there it goes. Darn it. That was sort of the wipeout right there. And that's sort of the benefit, you know, the evil, and, you know, there's upsides and downsides to taking more shares. And, you know, when levels break, sometimes it's just like, okay, I don't want to hold this thing all the way back in. So we did wind up getting out there, but I just bought a little bit back in. That's always 14s or 15s. I still like the play. And as Sharif has mentioned many times about the kind of way that I trade here, is that I don't want this stuff to get off of the leash either. And if we like the stock, let's make sure that we like it and try to trade it a little bit more. So there it is, a reloaded position there now on Intel. Just going to give it to that low again. If it breaks there, 14s or 15s, I'm gone. The better way may be to play lighter shares and just kind of play this back and forth. But, you know, so far not so good because of this Tesla trade. But we're doing well on the TQs. We just got out. We only still have 60% of this trade. And then the Tesla move just got back to 09s there, I believe. Yes, it did. 0850, sorry. I'm just going to take a piece out there. I was waiting for a bigger move back up through 209, But if we can get that 208.50 one more time, let's do that. Maybe the Tesla news isn't as like...
Lulu is tanking.
Yeah, Lulu is tanking. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Good.
$250. So did not break. Obviously, it didn't break out, but that's the thing. If a breakout doesn't happen, you don't have to take it. Nasty move on. I mean, Ulta was actually a little bit better. It came to the upside after being Lulu, down. So Lulu now coming to the downside. I wanted to see the opening range on it. Well, the opening range is certainly to the downside. Nvidia just got to that 120 again.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Nvidia got to 120 again. I just want to see where we're at for AMD. Is that available off of VWAP? It might be. If we're going to just turn around like this, finally Intel prints the 30s. Intel couldn't print the 30s just now. Now it's starting to head back into the 40s. I'm going to get one up there at the 50s as well. So out in front of both of those levels. If this can hold on to VWAP, the market's coming back into the downside. If this can be strong, then we're all for it. Not usually thinking long on this, but it had a catalyst and it's not dropping like the rest of the market, at least currently. So good look so far on Intel. Nvidia's still at 119.5.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Finally, guys. There
goes Intel, and AMD's breaking the low of the day. I don't want to chase this one short, but it's looking relatively weak, and I do want to be short this if the market's down. Just have to be patient with it. So Intel manages to print up there at 37.38.
Yeah, great hold here for Intel. Hopefully, it will continue to go higher there, so we'll go positive on
Nvidia is consolidating.
Right there again. So. Yeah, all right. So the TQs continue to go upside. I mean, we can look at Nvidia. Neil was just talking a little bit about AMD. I still like that 120. So, that could be a good break level there. I think that's for sure. Amazon breaks higher right now as well. So let's see what happens with Amazon. Sometimes it's, the name that we should have been looking at for a minute there. Amazon up 1.26% and really tried to go. We wrote down on the sticky note 174.20. That VWAP down there is 173 and change. Market's still trying to make up its mind. So, this is not one that we have to be completely in love with. But it was a break. We like that level. Let's see if it wants to hold it right there. Try to go through. It's Amazon. And there it goes right now. So again, okay, we will continue to do this, man, every single day. Try to play names. We didn't get that 34, 35 there, though. Let's see if we can get back into the 50s. But it's a breakout play that we like, that we put here on the sticky note, that we take. So all of a sudden, man, we rocking now, Neil. There goes Intel. Let's go, baby. That's the money maker right now. It's Intel. It's going higher. I mean, the money maker's Amazon, but Intel is in the pocket right now, as is our boy, Neil, the TQQs. Let's go. Wow, we're doing it again here today. Nice move upside on the TQQs. It is about 40 or so handles now. We'll take a piece out there at 68.20 and see what's going on. So, lots of excitement over here. What about you?
I just got missed. Intel didn't quite get that high. I think it got to, I was sitting at 46 for a fill. Not really breaking the high of the day just yet. No. But the other thing that just happened is Nvidia just went for the 120 break. So, as far as I'm concerned, the pop and fade at 119,
Amazon
90 or whatever it was, that was right at the open. And if you don't get it, this is a two-way level for me. Said it, if it's breaking out from here, it has room to 123. So it's trying to break out from here. Let's see if it has room to that 123 after all. As I said, I'm trying to get filled in the 40s on Intel. Then we'll leave some for the high, which is 2150. If it breaks the high, I want to be long into it as opposed to buying through the high. I don't necessarily love a breakout on Intel, buying those tops. But if you can be long before it gets there, it's a little bit safer of a play. So there goes Nvidia now through that 120 level. It's trying to make that continuation play. If it holds this 120, I think it can get to 123 today. But there's a battle of wills happening at this price level.
That'd be real nice. PL number one, despite getting out first, is Intel. And there goes Intel right now. Oh, yeah. And this is what we're talking about. When you believe in a stock, you put on more shares. When you believe in a stock, you stay with the stock. We believed in you, Intel. We believed in you. And now you are going upside. And boy, did we believe in Amazon. That's going upside. And man, did we believe in Nvidia. That's going upside. Neil, the sticky note is doing it again and again. There it goes. A nice move there on the chicken dance for that play as Nvidia now 40 plus cents upside. We'll wait to see if Tesla can get going, but it's the TQQs that are running. It's Nvidia that's now 40 cents. It's Intel that's now 30 cents. It's Amazon now that it's 40 cents. Hit your like, hit your subscribe. You're now rocking with the best of us, and this is what we're doing every single day. And no, it's not Festivus yet, but we are starting to go. It's starting to get going now. Again, guys, thank you so much for what's been an incredible week here, and we're kicking it off on a Friday one more time as the market gets right back to highs. And boy, oh boy, has it been a good morning, Miss Adara.
A few seconds here until we get the Chicago PMI forecast of 44.8 here. Then we're seeing a previous number here of 45.3, coming here 46.1. So that's well above here the estimate and the previous number. S&P 500 still pushing higher here, now up just about 0.2% right now on the day, though. Now looking a little bit lower, definitely fighting some resistance at that 562 area. At 10 a.m., we'll get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment number, the final print of this metric for the month of August, guys.
Yes, sir. And I actually was anticipating that the number might give us one of those rubber band dip action plays. It didn't happen, so I was sitting on the bid to try to get more 120s on Nvidia. We've seen that before, so if you like it, you might as well give it a shot because sometimes the bid will drop, it'll pick you up. But if we get to 121, that's the next out. Intel's now through the high of the day. It's absolutely flying. There's some weakness in Apple that we'll get to in a second, but the Nasdaq's about to take out this top right in here, so the longs are working. It was a two-way level off 120. It gave you the short first time through if you liked it, and then it was a clean breakout the second time. Not the first. The first time it would have given you back into VWAP, but now we're starting to fly in here. So Intel, off of VWAP, we like 21s. We didn't get 21s. We ended up getting VWAP in there, and then it went maybe 10 cents against. Wait till 1-to-1. Wait till high a day. Now I'm just thinking 22 even. So it gets to 22 even, then we're going to jump out on that one. So just a couple of long plays in here. We'll check back in on things like Apple and Tesla a little bit later. But I want to find a place to get back in on Nvidia once it tags that 121. Because this trend's up all day. I think it gets to 23. And we don't want to rest on our laurels when it comes to NVDA.
Wow. Guys, thank you so much for all the love here today. Look, there's going to be just whatever. You guys can ask if we're red or green or not. Look at this right here. Insurance Casino, awesome trade. Thank you so much. Stick to your notes, man. Thank you to YouTube as well. Thank you to Frank Jones. Great call. I make Coffee Trader mad. I am too freaking good. No, not really. But I do appreciate that. And we are still starting to go, man. We're starting to go right now, and that's what we talked about. I said we are not shorting Nvidia. We are waiting for that call, and there's 60 or 70 cents right there to the upside. Hey, look, man, everything can pull back.
It was a bigger short at 20 than it was long.
Yeah, I know. You're a hater. We know.
What?
But, okay, here we go.
Oh, I'm just looking at the chart.
No, but I'm saying, why can't you just say 120 was a great call long? You have to say 120 short was better. It's just.
What are you talking? Okay, first of all, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. I'm the first person to tell you I'll slap a fail for not shorting 120. My plan was a two-way level on 120. I took Marvell instead at the open instead of shorting Nvidia, and that was a loss. But at the end of the day, it's a two-way level over/under play, and at least for now.
But the 120 was a great call.
I never said it wasn't.
All right, so I appreciate that. Respect. Respect on that call.
It'll touch you with that. I have no idea.
Of course, man. I'm touchy with it. I mean, I'm in there saying how good the trade was, and you're there. 120 short was better. It's literally what came out of your mouth. It's just we're trying to promote the show, promote this. You know, I mean, it is what it is. You know. Okay, yeah. Let's get this trading back. All right, good. Here we go. All right, so $110, 120, sorry, and change on here right now. So here we go. Yeah, you know what? It is what it is. I put up with it all the time. So we'll just continue to go. All right, Neil, back over to you. What do you got on there?
We're just going to chill right this moment. I want to see if we can get back in the 120. No trend line is established just yet, although I think we've got one brewing in here. So I like to connect it here first. Like this is where we dip. When 120 kind of failed the first break, it dipped down into 120.80. And when you connect the dots, it's trying to hold on to this trend line. If it loses that, dip into 120. If it loses 120, you know what? I don't like a trend break and just sitting on the bid. So let's wait in for VWAP. Usually when you break a trend like this, I want to be patient with a reload. That can be like a 119.5. So bounce off 120, and we might take a shot there. If we get into 119.5, I think it's still perfectly valid up at that top. I am seeing weakness over in Apple. So when the market's at highs, what is at lows? Apple's at lows. I would have told you AMD, but when I see the chips flying, I got to look almost somewhere else. I'm a little surprised by Apple looking this week, and I don't want this to lose 229, but if that happens, this thing should be a short. So I think Apple is turning to look like a bit of a short, but my plan of action was short AMD, and I have to abandon it because it's trending up alongside of Nvidia. So got to be patient. I don't want to short something into a strong market until we get some confirmation that it's bad, and I'm out of Intel if it gets to 22. Call me not the biggest believer on Intel, sorry.
Tough one.
Not 22, 2180 failure. So up here is the local high since earnings. If we fail this high, I'm out of Intel. I like to go station to station. Maybe it's the bias against it, but there we go. I was about to put a trailing order through 75. Not even going to bother doing it. I'm just going to punch out at 72 and then just take it out there. So I'm getting out of Intel. It maybe goes higher from here, but I like to play it station to station, and that's the big resistance. And if it can't get through that, it means you're still sellers winning. Yeah, Apple, there's something wrong with Apple right now.
Okay, so we'll do that. But first of all, I have to apologize, Neil. I get heated sometimes about my trades, and it's just like I should never like.
Sean, I've known you for 20. I've known you for 20 years.
I don't want people in the chat being like, that there's something wrong.
I'd never stop smiling, and I'm just kind of laughing about it.
So I apologize for that one. I always let emotions get a hold, and I shouldn't have done that right there. But that's what happens. And we're sitting here literally for 4 years, I think, going back and forth with each other. So all is good on that one. It's just trading is tough.
Okay, be
and
careful.
I always find it like a battle with the market.
The market's losing the top here.
Yeah. So that's why I just had to say it, and I know the market is hot right now.
The market's losing the top.
I wanted to say that, and I'm sorry, and I respect Neil's trading and all these calls. What we do here, first of all, is not super easy. To expose all of our trades every single day, and sometimes I get a little carried away, so I do apologize for that.
There's a problem with
yeah. So
right here.
What I want to say quickly, and I know the market's going down, but what you mentioned there on Intel is perfect because that's that level. Like it just came up. We had written down on here actually 2175 as a break level. So we actually sat there. And I mean, Neil just mentioned it. We got out there at 2175. So we still have positions on. I still have on a quarter of 20% of it. But did we hear news on what that? No, now the moves. So what's up with that? The market just completely retraced back in, and then now is taking out highs again.
What the heck just happened?
We are cruising.
Oh, I know what happened.
Amazon, was it a number? Amazon.
Apple.
Go ahead.
Apple tagged. Oh, you're gonna love this.
Nvidia's now $1.
Apple tagged yesterday's lows and just started rallying. So Apple joins the party. This is why I didn't want to short AMD. Apple joins the party, and now we're back into the longs working. Where's AMD? Just quickly, AMD hasn't broken the top yet. It's trying to break the top. Nvidia, we should look to reload Nvidia. It's still giving you opportunities in here. So I drew a trend line that probably should have been not observed, and I should have just respected $120, but now it's going back into the top side. So if we can get picked up again, we should. Anything late breaking could be worth it. So I want to go back over to Marvell. Took the L on that Marvell long, but realistically, if it's your first play that you like for a break and you think it's going to be the one, if it does this and you're not ruined, then you're lucky. But Marvell, yeah, it's still looking pretty bad. Maybe that's not going to be the one. Got to find some strength that we can jump into.
I just didn't think the market would be up 1% today.
Not with it. Not with Apple at the low.
So I just starting to get out of some of these longs. Like I don't have that same opinion for what we were doing in the past as holding all of these. So the worst trade, like we will go 4 for 5 today. And we lost on Tesla. And the thing is that, oh, wait a minute, it's all the way back up here. That this was, because I just have a small share, so it's not affecting my net or anything. What I was thinking was this was sitting around in just basically a dead zone. So I just wanted to say, like, this trade right here is not, like, that was $1 against me before I could even blink, and then it took out the 200 period, so we had to get out of that.
That's my bad.
So that one right there wound up costing us. That was a silly trade. So we do not want to make those trades. This trade we want to make. This was the break on Amazon. So it broke 174.20 as we wrote down on the sticky note, 174.20 for Amazon. So there it goes right now, 90 cents in the money. We're at the day's high despite screwing this thing up for Tesla. But I'm going to get a piece out right now. There, did we get that piece out there? No, we did not. On Tesla.
Yeah, that's my bad. We need to go to the desk.
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't hear it.
I was supposed to I did hear it, and then I just wanted to let you go. So let's get to the desk. We've got Adara.
This part of the show is brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Tired of being late to the trade? Always playing catch up in the market? Missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else. Pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get a free 14-day trial. Also, we do have big lots here. So I'm getting some volume here to the upside, though it's pulled back a little bit. Selling off about 20% yesterday after Bloomberg reported that the company is considering bankruptcy. They have a short float here of about 22.3%. And they also are reporting earnings next Friday. This is a penny stock, but definitely one to watch out for in the small cap space, guys.
So Intel bounced off 2150. And, we talk about breakout trades. But the other way to play a breakout trade is, hey, if you don't take the breakout, like the example that Nvidia 120, if you don't take the breakout, then you buy the dip back into that level if the market's going to give you that opportunity. So there's the bounce off Intel at 2150. Like a bad price, I got 58s. That should be something closer to 53 or 54 if you're a little bit faster. It's trying to break back out that high. I'm still very skeptical of Intel because you should be skeptical of bad stocks until they prove otherwise. So until it actually, if buyers don't want to emerge above 2180, then I don't want to be holding longs above 2180 because that's a monster gap to be filled. If they start buying, then maybe a 22 breaks in play. There's nothing wrong with buying high and selling higher. I have no issues with that because a lot of times it just means the stock is trending. Oh goodness, Apple. All right, Apple's back at the low again.
Okay, so
I don't like
has to be the thing, right?
Yeah, I don't like what's going on with Apple and what that means for each time the market tries to take the highs. So we're breaking the lows on Apple, and if you look at this NASDAQ, we cannot break this line the last 3 days, and now we got a lower high 19.6.
Okay, there goes.
The longs are working. Okay, now Intel's trying to go. The longs are working, but I keep looking over at Apple. I'm getting a little bit wary of this move. So Intel's trying to break this 80 again. Come on, you've got to get through. Let's give it a real chance to hold. I feel if it loses 70, I'll jump out. If it holds it, we'll look for a place to add on INTC, which, oddly enough, is the strongest stock in the market today. Take a picture, Polaroid, whatever, and mark this moment because it's not going to happen very often.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The thing about Intel is I feel like it's so catalyst-based. Like we weren't even really trading it with any seriousness over the last couple of days. Then all of a sudden, boom, comes the dynamite. It's on both of our watch lists for the day. I took a piece out there at 65, but I said to Neil, it's starting to go now. But it only went to 82 or 83 there.
It's still
so this is back at the 75 level. I'm waiting to get some more out at 84, which was the high. But I'm actually thinking of taking a piece out just right now. There, we'll just punch some out at 73. We'll take a piece out here, more out at 73, just in case we're right about that 2175 level. I mean, we had pulled this back for you and showed you right here. So this has already been here earlier on last week, the 20th, 21st. So there's a nice pull up. It absorbed that whole sort of Nvidia earnings report and some negative talk in the chip space and some good earnings, obviously, from Marvell. We'll have to look at that one. Oopsies. I know you had that Marvell breaking the top. That probably went, I was going to say that
ARM is a strong one.
Fell off there. ARM was another one we wanted to look at for sure. All right, there's another Dollar Club member right there for Amazon. Amazon goes right back up, and there it goes. Let's get a piece out now at 25 or 26 for Amazon as it continues to go upside. So there it goes, man. And that, for me, we talk about this, first of all, Friday, so we're happy with it being Friday. But right there's the Amazon break, 174.20, 174.20, weekly levels poised for a breakout. The 210.50, the only losing stock we have on today is Tesla, and we could have not even been in it. We should not have been in it. We said 208 support. Actually, now that I wrote that down, how low did Tesla even go today? Plus, we have obviously the 120 long in Nvidia, which is now $1 in the money. Let's just hold on a second, just before I go throw it back over to Neil. We just got out at 209 there, some anyways. So 208 was what we wrote down for Tesla. we probably would still be in it. I mean, we held this one $1 against us. That 207 was yesterday's close, so that would have given some areas of sort of support levels. But yeah, Tesla today, just sitting there in no man's land. We should not have had that. Like you guys, well, I wasn't even mentioning it. I was bidding there, but the break was 210.50. I was sitting there at VWAP thinking that it was going to be a good trade, and it was not. So back-to-back jacks right now. TQ's is up huge. Nvidia's $1. Amazon's $1.20. Intel's 50 cents. But, you know, we're not up as much as we were yesterday.
If Nvidia doesn't break this high, I'll be incredibly shocked. But if it does, then if it doesn't, then I'm going to pull the bid at 120 because that's now a triple top in here. So for retest 120, I feel like waiting for VWAP. But let people get rinsed at 120 and bounce off VWAP if we lose this high. But we got some numbers coming through, so let's get to Adara as Apple's bouncing again. Let's get to Adara.
One morning here, we're just waiting 10 seconds away from the Michigan Consumer Sentiment number. This is going to be the final print for August. Previous print here, 66.4%. Consensus of 68. Forecast of 67.8. The number here coming in at 67.9. So slightly above that forecast, 67.8, below the consensus of 68. Generally here in line with estimates. We also had the one-year inflation final here, 2.8%. So below the forecast of 2.9%. Also here, 5-year, 3%, in line with expectations of 3%. The expectation, 72.1 versus 72.4 expected. Conditions, 61.3, versus estimates of 61.2. Earlier today, we got the Chicago PMI for August, higher than expected, 46.1 versus the consensus here of 45.5. We also had the PCE and core PCE coming out this morning at 8:30 a.m. Month-over-month numbers flat with expectations. In terms of the year-over-year numbers, though, both of them slightly lower here than estimates. So interesting look for all of these numbers today. A pretty data-filled Friday ahead of a long weekend. And we have the S&P 500 trying to make new highs of day here, falling back a little bit, but still trying to hold up above that 562 area. Lots of earnings to talk about. Lululemon here reverting pretty intensely from its initial strength in the morning. They did have a EPS beat, but a sales miss, and their guidance below expectations. On the other side of the earnings coin, we have ULTA, Ulta Beauty, initially trading much lower. Now just a couple percentage points away from being green on the day here. They missed EPS and sales estimates, and they actually lowered their guidance for the year. So interesting look at what's been a pretty exciting end to a very busy week, guys.
Well, it's not over yet. It's 10 o'clock. It's not the end of the week, man. We got a full day of trading. I mean, we've got the midday madness. We got the aftermarket show. And then we got a long weekend. So we're going to pack a lot in here today. And we should have packed in some Affirm continuation to the long side, apparently. But longs are working, and Affirm is going up. So it's worth joining. I looked over at a lot of other things that we had plans for. So I looked at Dell. Dell's weak. I was looking for potentially some strength there. Lunar didn't break, so that's out the window. Probably should have had a better look over at ARM, and that's going to be on me. We were looking at other chip names today. I'll get to that in a second. But Affirm VWAP looks pretty good.
We just took Tesla.
So it looks pretty solid. I mean, you're still trending. You're above the highs from yesterday, but I'd rather buy dips than tops on Affirm. It's going to put this one on one of the level twos. And keep saying ARM and not looking at it. This is ARM on the daily. That is $138. ARM is up 3.5%. ARM has done much more than this when it decides it wants to go. So if it gets to 138 big, if it dips into 135, yesterday's high, I want to look long. ARM is an absolute party.
And now I'm feeling some kind of ways because now finally Tesla goes. We get the 210.50 break and we're able to take 30 cents. So let's wait to see what happens right now. But hey, look, man, regardless of where you think the market's going to go, you know, we've talked about this Nvidia. Both Neil and I have this trade. What a good one, honestly. Breaking through that 120. All you had to do was kind of wait for it. It didn't. I guess it gave you. Did you get the break or you got that reload? Because there was okay, good, yeah, because there was one. I was going to say it actually didn't come back in, but it did, and I didn't even. Must have been when that number popped. Oh, 950, right? When we were like, what's happening? Right. So right into there was a great one as well. So that was a good reload. But so there's the break of 120. We actually didn't break it through 120. We let it go up. It did fail back in there, and then once it took one more time, that was sort of going to be the play and the plan of action. Look, Tesla, I'm going to lose a buck on this. So we already took some out there for, and again, not a great trade. We talked about that. But we did have a 209.50. That is a part of that trade out right there at 210.80. So that sort of trade worked. But we're down. It's our only red stock is Tesla because we sat there at VWAP. Before we could even blink, it was down $1. We got some out at the 200 period. Then it breaks 210.50, which was a level that we liked. But again, on weakness in the market, Tesla's already showed. I think we talked about Apple being relatively weak as well. There's a couple names that made moves down while the rest of the market really didn't. Tesla is in one of those spots. So if this breaks 209.50, we only have 60% left of that break because we lowered the shares. But if that breaks 209.50, then we'll have to flush down that trade one more time for Tesla and then put a sort of a red mark on what's been a great day. We're up today. We're not up anywhere where we were yesterday. Yesterday we had those 5 breakers and they all just continued to go. But today's been just as good for the TQQs as we have a great long there at 67.80. It just went $1 upside. We only have 20% left of that. So that's going to be something to look at there for sure. Nvidia, I just talked about it running. We did get a piece out there. We're going to try to hold, again, only 20% left of this one. Tesla, 60%. And then Intel.
I just got wicked.
That's probably not a wick, man. That is probably a good, down to this side because these are good outs up here.
Well, it was just back at...
I might just take another out up there.
No, I got out, but it went back to 80 briefly. It looks better now, but that's like... It looks better now. This is a 3-minute chart. But like when I got out, it went right back into 80, and I was thinking that was a bad exit. And then like 2 seconds later, it looks like a good exit. But that actually retested the high after I got out. It just keeps dancing off this 75 load level. And it can't seem to catch a bit of a bid up there. But as long as it holds trend, I think it can be okay. Let's look back at VWAP when we get there. Oh, Apple's breaking the low again. This is the third or fourth time it's tested the bottom. The NASDAQ put a wick high into 19.6. That's not a spot. Like when we wick the top like this, that's not where I want to be adding to longs unless it's at a really good level. If it's up the top, I don't like it. So I was bidding a firm. But there's no point bidding VWAP when it's $1 away from VWAP. You can let it get down there and see what happens. I'm looking for something that I like short. It's been leading me over to AMD. AMD did not break the high, but it's still trend up. That's no good. I feel like it should be Apple, but I'm not shorting anything at the low of the day. I pretty much never want to short Apple at the low of the day. It's just not that kind of a stock. I never feel good about it. Google was under pressure in the afternoon yesterday on that news. ChatGPT, investors, blah, blah, blah. Google's above VWAP. It doesn't look incredibly weak. So I'm looking for things that are weak, and I'm not finding much. What are you guys looking at here? Oh, everyone's saying SMCI.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, that stock. Oh, yeah.
You got out of some Amazon. Is it tanking again?
Yeah, it's...
All right. I don't know. Like, I'm not hearing that many updates in my ear about too much of what's going on. Because you know what? There's really not that much going on, to be honest with you. There's going to be individual names that are rocking and rolling. And
somebody short SMCI.
Yeah, our Tesla, again, was another flush down, and we wind up getting out there. So we did take that 210 break, and we talk about the sticky note, and it is on here for that. So that was a losing trade right there, and we were able to get out of it. But again, lower the shares on a stock that we thought had a chance, but obviously, look at this. There it comes back in. We want to make sure that we're ringing registers, right? Amazon, we're already in the money, $1 on that one. We did take some more out right here. Trying to hold for a bigger move. Not sure that it will be there. The NASDAQ is falling down. I like this as a reload, but we used the 200 last time, which would be $68. So if that comes in, I mean, it's lower than that, but that would be a reload spot maybe, or looking at VWAP around the teens. So that could be a spot. Here we go. The market, something's going back up here for us a little bit. I don't know exactly what it is. Is it Intel? Is it Amazon?
Nvidia's trying to bounce.
Made a little bit of money there. Okay, maybe it's Nvidia. Oh, Nvidia's back to 120 again? Okay. Right back in for Nvidia. This could be a spot right now. Falling back in. Yeah, that was interesting. Are you going longer down here?
I'm not going to sit on the bid. My first thought is if it loses it, I kind of want to be short under VWAP on AMD here.
No, my shit's
but it looks like it's trying to hold that bid at 120, at least for now. Oh, you got to be kidding me. We have to acknowledge, I just said I'm not chasing a firm. So for everyone out there, if you chase the dream that is a firm right now, it just made another fresh high. It's going to get to $45 today, it seems. It's almost like it's destined to do it. This one is on, it's on one right now, and it's like the train that you just wanted to hop onto. We didn't quite get that big long, the third one yesterday. I don't think we're going to get the big long today because there's overhead resistance at 46. So you have room still to get there. I just don't know where to pick it up unless we dip back into the prior high. So that's the big runner. Day 2 plays are fantastic. Never forget day 2 plays. If it's the biggest long the day before on earnings, then maybe you should be back at it the next day. So that's a bit of a swing and a miss on a firm. Intel's starting to look good again. Maybe it'll finally break that 80 level. Let's go to Adara.
Another update here in the ongoing saga of Lip Bhutan's departure from Intel's board of directors. This was initially revealed via a filing on Friday. Then earlier this week, we had Reuters reporting that the reason for the resignation had to do with some of the disagreements that Lip Bhutan had with regards to Intel's revival plan. Now we have Ming-Chi Kuo, who you might recognize the name as a noted Apple supply chain analyst, saying that according to his sources, who are not named here, that one of the main reasons for Lip Bhutan's departure had to do with his decision to join the spinoff committee. So Lip Bhutan looking to take a more of an active role in Intel's spinoff here. A part of the long-term rumors that Intel is set to spin off its chip and design and foundry businesses, though actually, according to Ming-Chi Kuo here, this is, quote, the closest moment Intel has come to a spinoff. So more updates here in this Intel story, guys.
All right. Yeah, more thoughts about Intel for sure, as we're both on that one. It's been a good money-making trade, so I'm not going to sit there and deny that one. Amazon, so everything just fell down a little bit right there, including Nvidia. And unfortunately, we did not reload it, and that was a mistake. I'm going to put on a little something here for Nvidia, just small well, I think we just got 20s there. I don't know, it just fell right into our lap a little bit there. 20s, so now we'll wait. I was... Like, where's the bid? I mean, 119 is that 200 period moving average. And, you know, we just had 20% of our position, $1 and change in the money. It can easily happen again. So I do feel like that Nvidia drop down into, the 50 period. Again, that's where we are right now, into the 200 period. I feel like those are good reload spots. But again, you're going to have to reload it because it might get into those levels. So do not get too specific with your pricing in and around here, I don't think. I think the range is lower into test where we held right here to, 119.25. So I'm going to hold out for that. We just did buy some right now, but again, it's not a full reload, not even close. We'll buy that for the 120 support. And then if it gets back up, great, but definitely a little bit of a tricky name there. Intel's done the same thing. I mean, Adair just did it. We got up to 73 there. We took another piece out. So right now we have about 7 or 8% left of Intel. It'll be a good day for us. It'll be a positive day right now, but a lot of that is hinging on, of course, what Nvidia winds up doing now. Amazon's that dollar. Here goes Nvidia. We just bought 20s. Let's see if we can get a piece out. That level right there is 60. I'm going to sit there and see if we get a 60. Hopefully, let's get it. Let's go 50 and change.
Yeah, I'm now feeling a little bit better about Intel. But I don't necessarily love the back and forth. I'd rather no one be saying anything about this and let the stock trade and let the news marinate over the weekend, to be honest with you. As a trader, I'd rather not listen to news and have that affect anything with the stock. I'd rather just do technical things and make higher lows and hold trends and all that good stuff. So I'm going to have a pretty tight stop. I would give this to 50 normally, but if the buyers are right there at 59 and it breaks 59, I'm going to jump out and wait for VWAP on it. Nvidia is already bouncing, but keep coming back to Apple. And I said I don't want to go short the lows on Apple. Well, see what happens when Apple breaks the lows. It's not looking healthy over here, and maybe it is just a trend down on AAPL. Oops. I think that's what it's looking like, and I don't want to necessarily jump the gun and break a rule. I'm looking over at Alphabet. If we are going to start to lose a bit, I zoomed out a little bit, and suddenly, why am I not thinking short on Alphabet? This is where it tried to bounce to after we got that ChatGPT news. This is where it turned around, exactly the same price. Now it's making a lower high. No, Google is a short. And whether you get it up at the top or I short it at the lower high, this is one that's relatively weak. If the market's not retaking 19.6, I'm throwing AMD out the window, and I'm looking for a short either the high of the day on Google or underneath VWAP on Google. Still working the longs for now, just the same too. And good luck to everyone out there. I just noticed that in the chat there, I see Neil Shah. Hey, didn't we go to school with a Neil Shah? He was a year ahead of us? Yeah. Wasn't he, At Turner? You sure? Anyways, I don't know. It's
No, I'm
probably
not sure.
no. It's probably not. I'll ask some of our.
But
But
I just missed. I just want to say something.
Palantir high of day.
Oh my God! Yeah, someone just said I missed that
Palantir
one
high
there.
day.
I do not want to ignore a super chat, regardless of whatever coin this is for. So we'll just say it on here because this Camabla coin. So go check that out if you're interested. Thank you for the super chat one more time for that one. So again, a couple super chats there, and we don't want to ignore it. We don't pump anything over here, but I do want to acknowledge whenever someone gives us a super chat that's somewhat reasonable. So, and as far as content reasonable, the price of it is very kind of you. So there it is. So we did not wait for Nvidia 50s there. 60s. It bounced off 50. That was a level. We took a 40. Actually, here, let me tell you what level we took exactly, a 47. It's not like it's a monster trade, obviously. It's right there right now. You can get back into that one. That was only 20 cents on the reload, and we're out of a third of that reload. So now we'll be able to see if a trade does come in off of that or not. But there it is. We just take out that reload right there twice. I don't know, man. Not in love with doing that, but Intel falling down, Amazon's falling in a little bit. We're basically flat on the day with Tesla making that move back down. So that was a loss. That was a loss. That was a loss. So we only have 2 trades on here. This one we took about 70 cents. This one we did take $1, but on a lot less shares. So we're still fine with it. It's a green day for us, but not overly as profitable, obviously, as yesterday. Because if that Tesla had gone, then that's a completely different story. Nvidia now making that move back into 120. My next bid, just so everybody knows in case it does come in and we're doing something else, is 119.25. I want to see if it can come back into there. That's actually 30s. Let's put a 119.50 for some and then 25 for more. So that'll be sort of our level there that we're looking at right now. Has there been any names that we've ignored today?
Outside of
Microsoft.
I mean, outside of Palantir up at that high.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
So I was just noting it was a story about Stellantis that I just heard reaffirming interest in their North American brands, blah blah blah. I was looking at some of the other EV names in that moment. Palantir, big V-shaped recovery. When you get a big V-shaped recovery and take out the top, that looks good. With the market rolling over, I would think the next step would be VWAP. That's actually right around the 31 close price and the aftermarket highs, all that good stuff that you can see. I did just jump into Google or Alphabet, I should say, off of VWAP to the south side. The market's trying to bounce back up again. Nvidia is going to try to go. I did get wicked out of Intel. This time I can call it a wicked out because it didn't really travel any further to the downside. There was no 2150 to be had. So I might just have to jump back in here, that 21.6 level. Not going to do it yet. Want to see a little bit more strength than that. What else we got going on? ARM. Whoa. Prashant saying ARM, you wanted to short. I don't recall wanting to short ARM. That's not necessarily true. What I was sort of saying on the daily chart was if this broke out the top, I thought it could fly because ARM is done bigger than that. Nvidia just came out, so that means we must have broken the 80s to the downside. So yeah, Nvidia broke that local bottom. So when it broke the top at 120 the first time, there was a pullback into the 80 level. That's where I like to set stops when I'm reloading because it just essentially shows me on that move, like where were they buying it when it lost the level last time? And if it can't hold on to that, then I'm getting out of the trade. If we can reestablish VWAP, we can always jump back into a trend on Nvidia. We really only like that price as an over-under and nothing else. But it showed you the bottom at 118.5. If we can get that again, I think we're going to like it at least a little bit. PDD's making a bounce. Apple's making a bounce too. So I'm looking at some of the strength in this market. And every time I look up, if you guys see me do this, I just keep looking at Affirm. Affirm it's getting a little frustrating because every time I think I should be in it, it's like, oh no, don't chase Affirm. You don't believe in this move that much. It was already up so much yesterday. But this keeps on going and going and going. It just dipped into prior high and now it wants to take out a 44 top. So obviously this is looking very, very strong. I'm still not going to punch the top on this. I'd rather punch something that's trying to break, like we were just talking about Palantir. Like I'd rather be in something like this, the V-shape, where I don't have to get the high of the day, I can run it into the high of the day, than try and take off that top. Not with what the market is doing at this moment. So let's just be a little bit patient with Affirm. I'm only in Alphabet. Can't believe I'm only in a short right now. But that's because we're being patient with all of this and because Nvidia is still battling at 120. We want to try and focus on this. If it can reclaim the bid, I don't mind taking some swings at it. You can always get in and out relatively flat. Look for the re-entry on strength, because when it goes, it's going to give you some serious juice to the upside. Thank you, Ahmed, for the super chat here. Sean had to take a call. Probably, it must be important if he's taking a call during market. Can you please explain volatility? You always talk about it, and sometimes you love to see volatility. I would argue that we love to see volatility all the time as traders, especially in day traders. If you're talking specifically about like the VIX or something like that, usually we'll use that as an indicator, although it's not as big of a deal when the VIX is at low levels like it is. Days that it gets 30, 40, 50, that's when it's a bigger deal. But volatility in general just means you like candles like this and like this and like this and like that. Like you want to be in trades and then get spikes. So a key level, what makes a key level good is when you break away from that key level, you get volatility away from it in either direction. Right or wrong, that's what you want. If a stock gets to a key level and doesn't do anything, then you have to be patient with said key level. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, the super chat was addressed to Sean, so I'll let him handle that. But let's get on over to Adara. We've got the small cap recap.
Oh, wow.
IWM definitely a bit weaker and less directional when compared to the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ today. Lower highs, but trying to form a higher low with a bottoming tail candle for the Russell 2000 as of right now. Quite a few small cap runners to talk about. One of these is going to be Agape ATP Corporation. ATPC is the ticker for this one. They announced a 1-for-20 reverse stock split. This is the first day of trading after that reverse split. They announced the split here on Wednesday. This morning, they also announced addressing apparently some recent corporate exercise and strategic development. So some strategic updates here for ATPC. We also have Bren Miller trying to make new highs of days here. This is BNRG. They announced their results for the first half of 2024, smaller loss per share on a year-over-year basis. And they also announced here a projected pipeline apparently valued up to $500 million. Last but not least, we have Theriva Biologics. This one a little bit weaker here in the day, but it did run also yesterday, so watch out for TOVX. Market cap of just under $5 million, receiving a patent application notice of allowance for this C. difficile disease treatment, guys.
All right. Okay, so just real quick here. Nvidia did come into that level. We said what level we'd be buying, so let's just get a piece out because now we're in the money as we go long at 6. So our average price now 61 on Nvidia. Sorry, that was the some employment verification. I had to step out there because they did not call me back last night, but they decided to call me once again
during market hours.
While we're on market hours. Yesterday, I was even. I guess
you'd think they'd know because it's obviously for a trader.
I know, but the thing, yeah, that's true. But they don't like. If you have like a normal job, I feel like you could take the phone calls right now. If the market's open, it doesn't really matter. I guess when I said yesterday, oh, I'm on the air, phone me back. That probably didn't really like.
It obviously didn't register.
They're like on the air, like what the hell is this idiot talking about? And then turns out that that's.
I actually get nervous. I just
didn't want to miss it. So.
I get nervous when my phone rings during market hours because I'm like, I always dread because I just never want it to be family. Because if my mom or pop calls and it's during market hours, it's kind of like they know when we're on air, and it's not usually good news when it happens, and you never want to not answer the phone when it's your mom. Everybody. Don't hang up on your mom.
No.
I'm just saying. A lot of people, I'm just saying. Answer when your mom picks up or calls you.
Damn right.
It's really just family. I mean, no one else really calls anymore. I mean, I guess people call each other, but it's not.
I get spam calls all the time.
Spam calls.
I get calls from area codes that I ain't never even heard of. So all of those no-call lists are a bunch of nonsense, man. Like they just get you to sign up for that stuff. I remember back in the day it was a big deal, but they're all useless. Just a couple of things. Google, impatient with Alphabet here. That was a mistake. So when it broke down, I'm like, okay, let's get in. But like if we're shorting at VWAP and it's just ranging off VWAP, then we should short it at VWAP. So did get out of the early fill, and then we're into it here at VWAP. And let's see if it can break the low. Like obviously you're going to run into some resistance at the bottom because it's the low of the day. And if it gets to that price, we want to take some profit. I want to double check Intel. Intel's still at exactly the same range. It's not really moving away from this. Not up, not down. I need to see it resolve first and act after, not just try to guess that this is going to be the price. So if it resolves to go higher, I'll try to join. If it goes lower, fair enough. What else is there that's even worth it to the south side? I keep looking over. Like I know Google was part of the plan late. AMD was part of the plan early. and I couldn't get AMD. You can always be too patient. When Nvidia broke, there was a chance to just get short AMD underneath VWAP, and that chance is come and gone. So now we have to wait for it to come back into the upside. I'm going to make the assumption with the market pulling back that Palantir is no longer a breakout trade. That would be correct.
Oh, that was the stock we didn't look at, was Palantir.
Yeah, huge V-shaped recovery, which that's very bullish, by the way. When you dump it at the open and the buyers take it right back, that's a bullish trend. It doesn't make me ever want to look short on that stock, unless it's at some kind of huge level on the daily, but it needs to break out the top, and that's not happening here on Palantir. SMCI, I know, is absolutely tanking in a general sense, but it's still actually an inside day for SMCI. As weird as that seems, I know the stock's gone $40, but all it's done is go from yesterday's high to yesterday's lows. So again, if you were looking for something to short, at the low of the day is not my cup of tea, almost ever.
No. I mean, Intel's not doing anything, so I'm going to pass on talking about that for right now. But what we have to talk about is, again, we don't have to do it, but it's my biggest position because we just got to reload into it. And it is right here, right now. It's going to be Nvidia. So right here, not to talk about the same name, but I think this is a pretty hot one. So just falling into the 200 period. So we talked about liking this one down there at that level. I don't think, did we even get we did get our 25 fills. Okay, so we did get that 25 fill. I was just looking at it, I was like, okay, did we get that fill or not? But we did. So there's a nice little move, hopefully a move back to the upside. It's not going through 50s. So as we zoom back in a little bit here, it keeps on seeing this top. We actually identified this yesterday at 122.50 when it was kind of barcoding. Yesterday, I think, actually, you know what? I think it was about this time, no? Yeah, right into here yesterday. No, it was a little bit, yeah, right here. What time was this? 11. So there's 122.50 that we just kept on bouncing its head off of and could not get going up off of or up into. And then now, boom, market to the downside, and so goes Nvidia. Is that happening right here, right now? It looks like it is as we zoom back in now.
Oh, we missed the super chat.
There it is. I know I missed that volatility one, but I figured like you probably.
There was a couple. I tried to answer it, but it was directed
right now. Okay.
It was directed at you, and it said when you were talking about volatility. So I just kind of gave a couple of answers. One in the general stock sense, and then one with regards to the VIX. But there was one from Bacon here. Thank you for the super chat. Oh my goodness, I could go for some bacon. They should put more bacon on our salads. They should do that every day. So Dollar General, yeah,
should bacon just go on everything?
I 100% agree with you.
Let's just call it
bacon. You can have bacon every single meal in some fashion. Like whether you want to wrap your steak. I mean, at lunchtime on a BLT in the morning. Ooh. I mean, bacon's fantastic. It's great.
BLT.
Yeah, Dollar General is strong with the bad market, but that could just be because of how nasty it was. So it looks like it's an SSR bounce holding the previous low. So I usually don't mind longs like this, but we've got other fish that we're trying to fry. I can't find my way into Affirm. I think that's a good trade. I can't find my way short yet into AMD, and we want to try to get back into Intel at some point. But Dollar General, if it holds VWAP, why not? I mean, the stock has been taking it on the chin. It's short sell restricted. So it looks like a very good trend long. You probably could already had it once. So if we can do it a second time, I do like it. But I'm trying to get back in on the Intel party. And it just keeps on going sideways here. At some point, if the market keeps going lower and Intel won't drop, just got to hit the buy key. I'm waiting for the right spot to do it. I keep thinking it's going to test VWAP, and it just won't test VWAP yet. So right now, Google's in the money about 20, 30 cents is the most it went. It's in about 20 right now. Apple's bouncing. I'm going to take some of that. Apple's bouncing again. Apple is above 229, and if that's happening, I want to be trimming some Google. And let's try Intel one more time. I mean, it just keeps on holding this level. So if that's what's happening, then we should be respecting it.
Mm-hmm. We respected that dip down in Nvidia so much that we did not buy it, thinking that there was a potential that we do get into this 118.50, and we did not want to add to a position that wasn't working. So we'll just stay in the one that is working. And that was the position that we had, and now trying to get back up to the upside. So right now we're 30 cents in the money on this Nvidia reload, but it did go about 30, 40 cents against us. So we'll take a piece out here as it gets back up, but looking for 60s. So I'm in here in 60s trying to get this out because, again, like we'd like to make a little bit more money on these bump ups. I don't know if it's going to continue to do this, but have to take advantage of it. It is definitely downward sloping right now. and not looking like the healthiest name, Nvidia in the market. And I think Michael Noss nailed it actually when we were talking about that with him, and that was that sometimes you got to look for other names and not just focus on this one. But for day trading, what I wanted to actually get involved with was there. For day trading, I think it's a little different than what Michael's talking about. Obviously, as traders, we want to go where there's volume,
100%.
opportunity, liquidity, and volatility on that super chat there. So, yeah, you're just looking for names. And I think Nvidia today only being $122, $120 name, you're getting right here a $3 move right to the downside. So that's a pretty good move. Pretty clean, lots of volume, able to trade basically whatever default you want on this stock, 300 shares, 3,000 shares. You're going to get the fill if you just push bid enter. So these have been good stocks to trade, and we've really done well on that today. My number one stock today, well, we haven't done that well on Nvidia, but we're up on it. Intel is going to be my number one stock, and then right behind it, just dollars behind it, is Amazon.
Intel's going again.
We only have 10 cents. 10% left. Okay, yeah. The thing about Intel is I have like 5% left. I would love for this name to go higher. I do not want to buy the top.
I think buying the top is a sucker's bet.
Oh, you bought the bottom.
On Intel.
That was good.
I think, if you're buying in earnings pre-high, I bought the dip twice in here and the first time didn't work, but it's the same dip because it won't get exactly the VWAP. VWAP's just a line on a chart. Buying is here. It's telling you buying is here because that's where the price action is. VWAP just down there and nothing you can do about it. So you buy here or you don't buy at all. The second time through I liked it too, but we're still taking out in front of the high because of this. And if you're just tuning in now and you didn't notice that Intel did that on earnings, that local top was 2180 and you can see what's happening at 2180. It just can't seem to chew through it. So until it does, then we're only buying dips and not buying that top as long as it keeps projecting at Adara. What's going on in the world of crypto? Because maybe we should be looking at Mara, although maybe not because Patty's not here.
All right.
Nobody's coming.
Mentioned the story a bit on the morning on the desk here, but really interesting case here in the world of crypto with regards to Elon Musk and Tesla winning this $250 million lawsuit claiming that they rigged Dogecoin, that Elon Musk's statements were tantamount to a pump and dump scheme. The judge actually ruling, though, that these comments were aspirational and puffery more than actually kind of part of a fraud, and saying that basically what that meant is that no reasonable investor could or should have relied on the tweets with regards to a securities fraud claim. So interesting look here. Good look for Elon Musk and Tesla for this Dogecoin lawsuit. In terms of Bitcoin itself, we keep hanging out around this area just below the 60,000 level. Two candles basically back to back, despite a wick up yesterday into 61,000. Now hanging out right here below that, just above the 59,000, below the 60,000 level. Let's see if we can continue holding this as support or continue to fall after that bearish looking candle we got on the daily chart yesterday. Down about 2% and a bit here. Ethereum also down about 2%, just holding on to the 2,500 level by a hair. Slight positivity here for USDT and USDC. The rest of these names, for the most part, with the exception of Tron, slightly negative here. Solana notably down about 4.8%. It's a bit of a weak end to the week for these crypto names, guys.
Yeah, we had that super chat. Thanks for that one. And yeah, underneath 60,000, I think for Bitcoin is just going to be a problem. I mean, 2,500 seems to be a kind of like a magnet for Ethereum. So we're just hovering around those spots right now. We took out a 60 and then a 75. So those are the two most recent outs for us on Nvidia. Whoopsies. Yeah, there it is. So a good little reload down here at 119 and change. We did have to go through that. We did not reload that. We should have, as it was down into here, but that's 118.50. So for me to sit here and take a 90 again, it's too much. I don't want to overexpose to one name in case something goes wrong. All right, we do not get out at the top of this one. This was the TQQ trade. It did come all the way back in. And again, that was a mistrade for sure. I don't think I was sitting here for that, but I would have reloaded the futures. Anytime you can get back into sort of days range, I like that thought, and I like the shot down there. So we probably should have done that. Thinking about just getting out at the 50 period, even though it's Friday. Me and Neil were just talking about it. It's a little light on the traders behind us, and that reason again, there's going to be a lot of action not only at the close, but possibly getting into a long weekend as well. That's another story that's here. So you could get lighter trading. And I know I say sometimes time of day doesn't matter. And I don't think it necessarily does, because opportunities can happen at any time. But I was having this discussion before. Very easy to get chopped up when there's light volume. So I feel like time of day, obviously volume is worse in the middle of the day, and we're starting to get into that now. So what that means to me is trade the names that are a little more active, that do have the volume and volatility
that are
like we had
holding
mentioned, and maybe that are at support and resistance levels continue to be a very positive way of trading. And I think you can continue to do that. So I'm going to be looking for those kind of plays. And even just this Nvidia trade is just now bouncing in and around to like $1 range, right? So we expect a little bit more from that one. DraftKings, not doing much. GM, you traded GME yesterday. Affirm is what? No, it's someone just said it's going to 50, but there's no way it's at there. $45 actually. That's a really good move for Affirm again today. What, up 30 something or whatever it was yesterday. Affirm on that report not only got going from the report, but got going
Affirm
today again. Look at that. That is 50 would be great, but I feel like you're getting ready to get stopped.
Everyone's going to be selling the 50 level.
46 or so there for Affirm.
Maybe a lot of sellers 50 level. No, I was just if you saw me kind of doing that, Ramin just walked by with Tim Hortons. She's got a tea, but she has a really big bag of Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
So there's something in there. I got my eyes. Oh, it's soup?
Oh, soup.
Oh,
okay.
Are you feeling? Hopefully
yeah, really
feeling
no
well.
soup for you.
No soup for me
No
because
soup,
we got a soup at 10:30. I'm not going to do that. Finally, Intel broke the high of the day.
Depends on the soup. What kind of soup is it over there?
What soup would I eat in the morning?
Tomato. That's okay.
Yeah, but she's not eating tomato soup.
Chicken noodle.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no.
Best chicken noodle.
I like chicken noodle. I just always assume if you're having
best
chicken noodle, you're
soup,
not feeling
says
well.
Fabian. The best.
So I don't want, we don't want Ramin to be not feeling well. So hopefully she's doing well. Intel's finally doing better. It's finally broken out that high. I think the next stop could be that 22. So let's see what it can do. If you dip back into prior resistance, I'd love to see the buyer step in there. Then you can reload higher lows instead of reloading the same level at that 21.6. If the market's going back up, suddenly Palantir didn't get to VWAP, but that breakout could be looming on Palantir. Still want to observe that. We did get a couple of legs out of Alphabet, but with this recovery, it just took out VWAP. So thank goodness we got at least a little something there. Impatient fill, and you don't do very well with that. You had to be short up the actual top. That was a 25-cent range that you had in there. Oh, you do have treats.
Oh, that's from Big Patty Ice. Which one are these ones?
These are. I don't know.
No, I know, but they're different.
No, it's probably hazelnut. I think these are
probably the
hazelnut.
hazelnut one.
All right. Well, if we both eat at the same time, somebody can't talk, but that's okay.
That's okay. They can just watch our trades.
So, I love Lindor.
Very tasty. All right, you know what else is very, very tasty? Spin it right now for Nvidia. Nvidia's back to 120. This is going to be a key level for us, so we are going to take some out now at 120. We said we would wait for it to pop higher here, and it's doing that right now. So actually, we just missed that 120. Let's take an 87. Good enough. We offered 98s there. Take that out there at 87. Thank you.
Thanks for me.
Think about these Lindor chocolates. They have like the truffle in the middle. Like it's really soft, and so gotta be careful.
That's why you have to have a coffee or water next to you.
Yeah, I kind of have both, but this coffee has gone really cold.
I know, but it's already 10:30. It's past that point where I want to get a reload. So Intel's flying through 22. That happened very, very quickly. Apple's making a big move. Affirm is absolutely flying. It is
Intel's huge.
Market green day. We're back to 1% on the NASDAQ. And the great news is the thing that I felt like was dragging us down could get to VWAP and break it out. And that's going to be Apple. So my eyeballs are going to be over at Palantir after that V shape. Wait a minute. Oh, it's pulling back. It's not even that strong anymore. So maybe Palantir is not as strong as we thought. I thought we'd be back at that high for a potential breakout. SMCI is probably going. And I see Adrian in the chat. I know we haven't looked at a lot of small cap names. I had one on my radar. It was LUNR, and it didn't do anything. So LUNR, you stink. ASTS is back in play, apparently, and breaking it out. So the sell party might be over temporarily in ASTS, which went on for about a week. Just remember where this stock has come from and the ridiculous rally it had. I want to say that when I looked it up at FinViz, it was like 3,000 price to sales or something.
It was
insane like that. So just be careful. Pure momentum stock. It's trying to break. 31 is a key resistance level. If it can hold on to that, you could always see 34. But this thing was much, much higher than that. 40 is a local high on that bad boy. So I'm only in Intel. Just didn't find our way into Affirm after all, which is still a bit of a, that's a bit of a disappointment. Affirm's been fantastic 2 days in a row. And sometimes you just don't believe in a stock enough because your bias can get the best of you. Usually the times that you're not going gung-ho on a long like this are when you don't think the company's best in the world. Now, if Apple does that, you have no trouble being long all day, every day. When Affirm does it, this is the result. So I'm slapping the fail on myself for no trades in Affirm, but I'm still not buying the high of the day. Not going to do it.
It's to Neil's point, but it's kind of the opposite. Like, I don't really believe that much in Intel, and which is why I don't have that much left for sure. But this trade is really, like starting to go again up to $22. There was just, again, it's not 60 million shares today, so I'm not going to get too excited, but there was just a decent sized bid there that got eaten up at 22 flat. So someone's buying this level. I think there was probably a couple 100,000 shares there. It came in, it filled it, then it just bounced right back up off of that filled level. So yeah, someone's buying Intel or covering or something, but there it goes, breaking through 22, and they were sitting on the level. So it came back in and filled them. Let me see if there's anything at 22 again. No, so there's nothing there. Whoops. There's nothing there right now. You can see it down here. So Intel right now, just kind of waiting around for a play. And that play has already happened, I feel like, down into VWAP. We always say when there's a gap, man, you want to try to play into VWAP. We got stopped out the first VWAP break right there. But then I was like, you know what? And again, Shreve mentions this. We talk about this, all of us kind of looking at the same stocks. You want to be able to stay on them until it really breaks. And that one was just a quick break, in and out, now back up. And the fact that we stayed with it, it's my number one stock. So it was going to be not my number one loser because we had Tesla at that time, but it was a red stock and we weren't pleased with it, but we got right back in and able to put that right back on the board and be the number one P&L stock for me today. And then Amazon right now goes right back up again. Like, wow, just I don't know why. I was looking here, I was like, yeah, the market's coming in. We didn't buy the TQs, we should have. Amazon, another name, comes right back into that level. Should have been bought again. That would have been another $1 or so off that level. We're $1 in the money on Amazon. We're $1 on Nvidia. We're $1 on Intel, and we're 60 cents on the TQQs. So hopefully we can keep on getting going here and get back up to the upside. So let's go and figure out what's going on.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can get back to day's high. I hope so.
Not Lulu.
Well, you had mentioned that 19.7 with Sharif, and that's kind of got back to 19.630 today. Well, that's a key level there for sure.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We have 100 points to get there, so the longs can still work. I just triple top on the week. That's all we're getting at with 19.7 on the NASDAQ. You get to that price, take some profits maybe, and look for some shorts. But sector watch time, where I know there's a few things we haven't looked at. I know I didn't look at energy, and we haven't looked at the banks either. What's going on, Indira?
Energy, one of the more interesting sectors today and this week, so good one to start with here, is red on the day, strongly to the upside yesterday. We're seeing a lot of volatility with regards to oil prices as we continue to react to the Libya disruption there in production. Also worth noting, we had some updates coming from OPEC this morning. So energy, minerals, this entire sector definitely on watch, as with the exception of a few names right across the board. Not a lot of other weak sectors, though. A little bit of weak to flat action here in health services and communications, but generally pretty strong here. Lots of strength in retail trade. Amazon and Costco notably green. Finance pretty green here as well. Producer manufacturing. Lots of strength in health technology. Eli Lilly up almost 1% right now. But of course, we have to talk about these tech sectors. With the exception of a day two move to the downside for CRM, generally some positive action here in the technology service sector. Of course, electronic technology pretty strong here as well. Broadcom and Qualcomm both notably to the upside. Intel up today as we continue to hear ongoing reports about this business restructuring. We have Nvidia up, and Apple, though it was initially much weaker in the day, trying to curl back up to the upside. So we'll have to see how these markets resolve. But right now, the board's pretty green, guys.
I'd say so.
I mean, it just keeps on going. But everything I'm looking at here, it's hitting some of these levels. She's 100% right. I mean, you're up 1%. The one thing is that we talked about where we've come from yesterday. We did have a nice drop into the end of the day. So it is nice to see the market trying to pick up some steam here and not get that vaunted and untrue free fall Friday that was happening. We already talked about how Fridays are historically. Remember I used ChatGPT or something, and they're like, nope, Friday's historically the best day, and the worst days are Mondays, apparently. So if there was going to be a free for all,
which makes sense.
Yeah, and I think sometimes there's economic releases on Friday, which I guess are generally taken well. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the logic is there, to be honest.
For the weekend, it's just that all the worst like panic days have all happened on Mondays. When you think about it, like, you know, that's where Black Monday comes from. And then it's horrible to say, but a lot of really bad things can always happen over 2 days versus like one overnight. You just have more time for like bombs to drop and things like that. So statistically, I've always been a big believer in it. Apple is absolutely flying. I'm trailing Intel at this point. So the only thing we have is, can Intel hold on to $22? And if it doesn't, we're going to jump out of it. Apple, as I said, is now flying to the upside, but it just got to the opening range and did a little bit of a dip. So VWAP's going to be a big test for Apple. As long as we don't get above 19.6, I still tend to think that I want to fade AMD if it's not breaking out highs. And it's not near yesterday's tops. It's still putting in lower highs. So if we don't break 19.6, there might still be a spot for me to get this short. I can't bring myself to go back in Nvidia just yet, but AMD VWAP could be a thing. And yeah, here comes Intel starting to lose. Yeah, it just lost that 22. So at least for now, I'm out of Intel. It also broke this trend, so I didn't really draw it for you, but it kind of broke that trend line when it made that fresh high. So I just used 22, but it's a very, very steep up move. Heck, we could get back into VWAP again and just reload that trade, but we'll try to ring the register and see what happens the next time. That's not the key, but why not? I'll probably play some Mario with my daughter this weekend on the long weekend. So Mario Kart, that is.
Yeah, the kids love some Mario Kart. We actually have there's a bunch of new courses. We'll actually have to check them out. There was,
that's what we should have.
Not Toronto. They have Vancouver. They have Rome. They have Greece.
We should have Mario Kart stuff and GoldenEye at our football draft, our fantasy draft.
Yeah, but how do we get GoldenEye? Nobody has an N64.
Somebody has an N64.
I used to have one, but I gave it to my cousin. All right, 90, 67, 50.
Come on, Tim.
So we did reload. We did reload the TQQs. So this is a position that we talked about before. We do not want to hold this through the low of the day. So right now, 67.60 is just small right here. We're actually waiting for this bottom of 70. I mean, I still have the bid there. I don't know if that's going to come through or not. But that's kind of the area that we'd like to get longer, in and around 60s or 70s. We'll try a little piece right here, right now. Good out there, it looks like, on Intel. We're holding a very, very small piece. It doesn't matter. We could still get out if we wanted to. And then as well, good outs for Nvidia, obviously, on the high side here, as we have a bunch of outs at 120 and then again at 120.10. Those are pretty much the highs. So we did pretty good doing that. We reloaded the futures instead of Nvidia. So I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. That was obviously done on purpose, as I trust the market a little bit more than this name right now. So there's a good little reload on that. As you can see, we're starting to get back to the upside. Let's take a piece at 14s. There we go. So that's good. So right there, we will spend a little bit of cash for that trade, as we got 97s to 14s. It's only 15 cents, but let's take some out as it goes right back into VWAP off that trade. So, I mean, this is scalping as far as I know. So we'll do that right there again, scalp that out and just kind of move on from this name right now. That is, of course, the NASDAQ. And other than that, you know what we didn't look at, or I don't think so anyways, was Meta for sure. But then there was a lot of talk about Alibaba today and some of the Chinese ETFs and ADRs, sorry. Still downside, man. There was some nice pump ups for Alibaba. And I said, I can't get that excited because I can't. I think that we've seen this 90, we've seen this 85. It was not really on my radar today. We talked about that. I either want down here near 80 or looking at coming in one day and seeing it break that 90. So for me, that's going to be a pass on Alibaba, but a name that is always talked about and seems to be on watch lists left, right, and center, but not on our radar here today. On the radar, but not executed against today for that. Amazon fell back in. This one, we have that 10% left. Again, 175.50. We're going to put an order there now. That should be taken out if it does get back up there. And then really our only bad trade really today, we're only going to be red on one name today. So we're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4, and then throw Tesla in there that we've just lost. We had that 210 break. That was a mistake. That was a VWAP sitting there. That's a little bit silly. But look at Tesla today. Straight up barcoding. So this one, pick the wrong name, pick the wrong datum, sort of mess with it. We will be red on Tesla for now. And I'm not going to get back into it, I don't think. I think it's just too choppy. Other things to do right now.
I look back over at Marvell. I keep looking at them like, does it look any better? But I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. because anytime a stock does this kind of a fail break, and remember, come to the chart for a second, it's just, you do this kind of a fail break, and you should either be willing to short it or not. Because on the daily, you're rejecting a level like this and then right back into here. Like, to me, if the market's strong, then it should be able to get back through VWAP on that recovery, should snap back if it's a strong name. And it was a good report, and I like the report, and you can say whatever you want about it. The guidance was good, doesn't matter. It failed to break out, and now you're headed to the downside. Alphabet just came back underneath VWAP for a bit of a retest. So as long as Alphabet doesn't break this high, I want to look short. But I've been shorting VWAP instead of getting that actual top. But that's the line in the sand that I like. The other thing that's happening is you have these lower highs giving you a bit of a trend, which I now want to short off of that trend. So we're still in, we're in it for the second time. I shouldn't say we're still in it. And then just going to go back to the well with Intel. I mean, temporarily, it looked like it was a good out, but now Intel's right back into the upside. No dip into VWAP, no dip back into that 2175 zone, so just going to have to be wait for it. I see Whiskey 26, Lunar's starting to go. This was a small cap that I liked. Wow. I wanted it for a breakout of the top, and now I just want to see it hold this trend break. If we hold this trend break and on any kind of a dip basis, I think it can be a nice long into VWAP. So if it can hold back into this bid, then I want to be long Lunar into VWAP. The breakout's still going to have to wait. Let's go to Adara for Money Talk.
Third straight day of upside here for the DXY, continuing to find a base here at that 100.5 level, though we are running into what could be an area of resistance. That last pop we had here around 101.50, wicked into it yesterday. Let's see if we can hold that today. Lots of economic data to talk about on this Friday, starting with the PCE price index here, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, which came out at 8:30 a.m., unchanged on a month-over-month basis and in line with estimates of 0.2% for July. Or for the core PCE, year over year, though, actually coming in lower than expected for both the core and the non-core here. So 2.5% versus 2.6 estimate for PCE. For core PCE in a year-over-year basis, 2.6% versus 2.7% expected. We also got the Michigan consumer sentiment data here for August. 67.9 versus 67.8 expected. So more or less in line with expectations. Next week, going to be a bit of a lighter day for economic data until Friday, when we'll get the non-farm payrolls. Also worth noting here, in the land of currency, we do have the euro to the USD. Third straight day to the downside for the euro to the USD, as we do have ECB's Villeroy saying that September rate cut is, quote, fair and wise, as we do have continued to slow down in inflation data in August for the EU. So interesting look there, guys.
What's up, the Coffee Trader there in the chat there?
What's up, Coffee?
Yeah, what's up, Coffee Trader? You're always going to get some respect out of that name right there. He just said very entertaining to watch that TQQ trade, and yeah, I mean it was good. So there's the bounce right there. It takes it at 67.97 there. First out's 14, next out's 35 or so as it comes right back into that level that we've already taken before. So right there again, the Nasdaq just sirens. Oh no! And what was already a problem that Mike may have just become another one.
No, I didn't. It was my crutch. I didn't
your crutch. Oh, okay. Well, I think the crutches might be able to withstand more of a drop than the mic, but as long as the crutches are okay,
they're durable. It's fine.
Yeah. So okay. So good. Thank you, Coffee Trader. Thank you everybody for that one as well. We'll just go nothing. That's fine. So that was a good trade. I'm waiting for the high. Basically now here pulls right back in. So we got out of half of that trade there. Look at the market, really choppy. You could do that. I said like 60s would be great. And that's where we were waiting for that next piece. So we're out of half. This still could turn out to be a losing trade. We are going to try it at this bottom. But the market, as we've mentioned, not helping out, man. Bitcoin, 24 just broke, 25 just broke on Ethereum. And we're well under 60 now at 58.8. for crypto, so that's not helping anything whatsoever. We did take the opportunity, Neil brought it up to my attention one more time, that Intel did come back in, so we'll go woo-ha. And now it's official, because Amazon has fallen back in a little bit, Intel will be my number one name there, despite losing on it the first time. So see, it broke VWAP. Oh yeah, by the way, you guys are gonna be in there it is right there. So see it break VWAP, we got out. But the thing is, we got right back in the very next minute because I thought this break would create a cascade down. didn't do it. Like I was like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. So we took a lot of shares on that break right there of 25. So we had a lot of shares there. But the thing is, I was like, I do not want to hold it too far back. So once that broke 18s, we got out. I think that was exactly the fill. Yeah. So then all of a sudden we're like, okay, let's just try it again. We didn't want to get sort of wicked out on that one. We did get it, but then all of a sudden it started to ramp up there and it went all the way up and then it filled us back in. And then we had that stop and boom goes the dynamite there to the upside. So good trading temporarily, I guess, there on Intel because it was just one trade. Intel and Nvidia, that's about it. TQs come right back in. Watch out for Nvidia. Looks like it wants to make that break again. We're bidding still. One last try. Actually, I'm not bidding, but I do want to take one last try into 118.50.
So,
Not
yeah,
bidding. I got to get on that bid.
only 5 minutes to go here. The only short I have is Google, so I'm not even in. I keep saying I want to get into AMD, and I just never find my way into the short, so that's what it is. Lunar, I keep drawing my trend line, and then I keep forgetting to hit save. Just to give you an idea of why I like it, I was going for a breakout trade on Lunar at 620 LUNR, and broke this trend. First consolidation after broke the trend was right in here at 540, so I went long in front of it at 44. It just tagged a break of 550 into 54s. Now I want to get VWAP. If it breaks VWAP, we'll just try to hold it to the high. I'm thinking out in front of the high for these reasons. Earnings tops. You saw what happened to the earnings high on an Intel there at that 2180 for a long time. Well, similar thing here. This is when they reported, as you can tell by the volume candle. You don't need to know anything else other than that volume is going to mean news or earnings, and it's clearly resistance. So Lunar, if it gets to that price, I want to jump out of the trade and look for what is next. Saw someone, DJK in the chat saying a firm looks toppy.
Probably.
I mean, the problem with a firm is it's looked toppy like 2 or 3 times already, and neither one of those times has it actually been the top. So I do grant you that it looks toppy, but it's looked that way a lot the last couple of days. Look at when it finally rolled over. It gave you a pullback. No, either one gets to VWAP. It was eventually when it did a triple top, wicking the high at 130, that it pulled back into VWAP. So with a name like this, I think being extra patient for the mean reversion would make some sense. Because if I put up like trend lines on this, every short looked great and then never got to VWAP for that continuation. So be careful. You could have had wins on it, but the big win wasn't until later on in the session for that big move. I don't know why I just typed in Luna. I wanted to go back over to Lunar, as that's now holding. One more out in front of VWAP, and then we'll see where this one can go to the upside. They got a NASA contract, which is worth like 1/3 or almost 1/2 of what, it was 1/3 of their current market value, or at least what it was yesterday. The problem with these things is they never tell you how long they're going to realize it. It's like 6 different launches. So that could be over like 10 years, and it's not as big a deal as you think. But that was the news here on Lunar. They're up 13%, but breaking a downward trend.
All right, only a couple minutes left right now. I don't know. I mean, all I can really do is just base out and continue to talk about it. I'm going to get long on Nvidia. The NASDAQ has fallen back in. We still have half of that reloaded. Oh, we're right here right now. Why am I not getting? Oh, 60s is our position here. I'm going to take a little bit now. Again, it's hard. I mean, it's easy. It's hard. Everything is difficult. But at the same time, you're never going to pick an exact level. So let me buy a little bit right here, and then we will wait. I just got to make sure all these stop orders come through here. This is falling down a little bit faster than I expected on some of these markets. So we do have the TQQs breaking through 67.50. If that breaks, we are gone on this one. So we'll wait to see if we can support some of that. We do have a bid at 19 for Nvidia that just got filled. So we're waiting for that. And then we're waiting for this bottom here of 50s. Hopefully that can hold. I was going to take a little bit more at 1880, which was sort of this position, but we just got filled right there. So I'm going to cancel that. 118.80 that is, and I'm going to go over to Nvidia and put something near that 50, which is the exact bottom there. So if that comes in, then we'll try it for a minute, but that's just going to be a minute. Breaking through that 118.50 is a get that.
Where's
you know
Bitcoin?
What out of Dodge right now. Okay, now the market's really falling again.
Flat bottom break on Mars coming up.
19.5. There comes Nvidia. We do have that reload on Nvidia, but it's not going to be for too long, like we said. Here we go. We're in this name. As here comes Nvidia. So everything's there. It is. So now we're gone. Everything just cracked lower there right at the end of the day. I think Obi was short. I hope. It sounds.
Short 121.50.
I saw you had a great trade. He was short 121.50 at one point, but short again now or no? Okay, never got a chance. Okay,
No reload.
I know he was looking. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, Obi, give us a minute and a half. I'll throw it over there. But there it is, a nice little break on Nvidia. Let's go one more time on that in case, again, we get Intel'd on that position, which means, of course, that we get stopped out, and then it just rips right back up after that. So there was a stop at a break of 40s on Nvidia. The low of the day now, 117.50, but I guess that was made earlier. That new bottom is 30 on Nvidia. So, yeah, wow, excitement hits right here at the end of the day.
Yeah, no question about it.
What we're saying, like
only 1 minute to go. Like you
never know.
It was super exciting in the first, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. Then you kind of calm down. All of a sudden, we're losing the bottom. So I was saying there was a flat bottom break happening. Oh, Lunar just came back in. So Lunar just broke 40s. So we did just get out. My long was at 44. That just came back to the downside. Mara broke a bit of a flat bottom here at 1680. I was trying to get 79s. I got 76s ultimately. So there's a chart. I wanted to make sure you guys could see that. With less than 1 minute to go, I'm still in Alphabet, which just broke the low of the day. I never got into ARM, we were looking long on ARM. Never got into AMD, that downside. Apple's going to be at the bottom. Bitcoin just broke 68.5. So I'm just looking to get this bid here. That's like 66, 67, and play to 16.4 on Mars. It's headed to the downside. The only other thing that we're in is Alphabet, which is now at the 162. So if we bounce off 162, this is exactly where it stalled in the aftermarket. This was support before. I'll look to trail it out. So just a couple of shorts. Should be an AMD, but am not because it's not nearly as weak as I would expect. Like the market's breaking lows. AMD, which I thought was a weak stock, is yet to break the bottom. So no need to rush into it. But yeah, Mara looks like it could be starting to accelerate. So we just got that 66 fill. That's continuing to head into the downside. Probably should have looked a little closer at Mara because it looks like it was a gorgeous 17 break when the walls started falling on Bitcoin overall. But we're joining the move now, and we'll see if we can get out of it. Just got a quick 10 cents. We'll see about the next 10 to 15.
We, just to give everybody an update, there'll be no Sharif on the midday show. It'll be Obi and Adara, so we're really excited to throw that down for you in just a couple minutes. I'm getting out a little bit here as Nvidia does come in at 118. We are now up on the trade, but what does that even mean at this point? Let's let this keep on going. Hopefully we can get a little bit of, we just take some out there at 47s. Hopefully we can get a retracement higher now on Nvidia. It's been bad chasing that bottom, but that 118, that was yesterday's close. So, instead of just throwing darts here, I don't think these were dart throws. We did get stopped out there. But right into here, we just said, hey, if we break 118, we know we definitely do not want to be in this one. So here comes Nvidia. Nicely done back up to the upside. We're cooking now with gas. Maybe it's propane or butane. I don't know exactly what it is. But now Nvidia's trying to go back up. Go. Get meme crazy. Thing is, I feel like it gets meme crazy to the downside, where it just starts rolling. It's almost the opposite of what we need right now as an upside move. But here we go, making a little bit back now on Nvidia. So yeah, man, what an eventful day, obviously, as we get going. So, hey, it's going to be a good one. We're out of the TQs as that broke lower, but we're back into Nvidia, right now as that's going. Let's go back over to the midday desk with, I almost said Sharif as I'm looking straight at him.
Exactly.
With Obi and Adara. I have no idea what the topic is, but you'll find out momentarily. All right,
it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Hey, have this.
Rock, paper, scissors.
No, too sweet. They're actually a bit too sweet, but I do like them.
You see how long I was gracious about that?
You gave it up. You offered the rock.
And I was very,
paper.
Anybody that knows me, that is not genuine at all. I'm one of those people, the only person I actually share dessert with every single time is my wife and my daughter. Otherwise,
Ramin.
Otherwise, I'm craving. Oh, and Ramin, because Ramin is awesome. But let's get on to the midday with Adara.